but everyone's contributing. If you go back over, look at the 3 games that are the past, like everyone chipped in. Everyone found a way to make something happen. Yeah, do guys make mistakes? Yeah, because the other team is trying to beat you. But everyone chipped in. The bottom of the lineup, pitching, and I think that makes a big difference because it feels like everyone's doing it instead of waiting for this stud. Vladdy's got to do it or we don't have a chance. Well, now everyone's doing it. And I think that becomes contagious because, well, if the guy beside me is doing it, I should be able to do it. And then that guy beside me has got to do it. Everyone chips in. So I think they're having fun and everyone's contributing. And I think you got to give the manager some credit here. I think that he's kind of created this culture where everyone feels enabled to contribute. And we need you. It doesn't matter if you're batting 9 or 1, we need you tonight.
Absolutely. I think, Schneider deserves a lot of credit for that. They're an entertaining club. It's, the offense has come alive, right? They scored, I think, 16 runs over the weekend. They're one of the better offenses in baseball this year. They're also they're sweeping a lot of teams. Doogie just sent that in a text that the Jays have swept. They have 8 sweeps this year. The Dodgers have 7. 6 other teams have 6. So they've swept more teams than anyone in baseball. In order to do that, you need an aggregate over the course of a 3 or 4 game series where you're gonna be able to lean into your offense, and that's ultimately what they're doing. But I think you bring up a good point. Right now, one of the primary conversations, who's going to lead off? They don't have a conventional leadoff hitter. They've moved a lot of guys in and out over the course of the year. Bichette's had that opportunity. Obviously, Springer was a leadoff for the predominant portions of his career. They've tried a lot of different guys, and now they got Vladdy hitting 3rd. They got Bichette hitting 4th, and they're moving pieces in and out. But that's got to be, I would think, very encouraging for younger guys to be like, if I contribute enough, I might lead off for a team that's got 55 wins, 56, 57 wins. They're into late July and they almost have the best record in baseball. And they got a chance by the end of the week with the Yankees here. Then they're at Detroit for 4. This time next week, they could be the first place team overall in the American League. And again, you've got Nathan Lucas, you've got Ernie Clement, you've got guys like that who are hitting in predominant spot, very important positions in the lineup. They've got bench depth right now, and I do think that's a big part of it. Ironically enough, when you talk about everyone feeling like they can pull their weight and they're all a part of it, it coincides with Vladdy getting the biggest contract in team history and not pulling his weight, to that extent. His statistics and his production certainly have not met $500 million, yet that has just not had any effect on it. There's not more pressure on Vladdy or more pressure on Bichette because he's got 1 year left in his deal. If everyone else pulls their weight, then it really does take the pressure off the best players.
Well,
and that's a big part of what we saw this weekend.
Well, and Hayes, you mentioned the offense. What do we think of today's offense in baseball? Hit a lot of home runs, strike out a lot. And what are the 2 things they don't do? They don't hit a ton of home runs, and they don't strike out a lot.
They get on base a lot.
But they get on base a lot. It's a very kind of throwbacky type team.
Well, and that's kind of the way that Atkins and company were building them, right? They've been building a team that they wanted to defense first, and that's what's interesting about what people are kind of speculating on who they could try to acquire. Before the trade deadline, is there a power bat out there? There's probably a couple they could acquire, or would they prefer to acquire someone who just gets on base, that has some speed? Kwan is obviously the guy that's coming up the most. Yeah, exactly. And
leadoff hitter.
Exactly that. It would kind of check a lot of boxes. You stuff him in left field. Another thing that they could use help in terms of consistency there. When Varsho returns, you put him in center field, and you figure it out from there. Stephen Kwan's a name that's coming up that is not, going to be a 40, 45. He's not the equivalent of Santander, but he probably fit in very well in terms of just rolling it over. Next guy up, what do you have? And it's really been fun to see. It really is fun to see. And the American League's wide open. You got the Yankees in town for 3. Catch up with Tim Kirkjian a little bit later this afternoon, Keegan Matheson. And I feel like whenever you play the Yankees, and this is not only the Blue Jays that are going to have to entertain this question, it's to even pitch to Judge. Do you throw him anything, or do you just basically concede a base almost every time he comes up? It's been an ongoing conversation for years. I think it's even more important than ever now. Remember last year they played him, I think, in September. challenged them, and everyone was like, who cares? They stink. They're not going anywhere. You might as well challenge them. Curious what the mentality of John Schneider is going to be the next few nights. Do you challenge him because at some point you have to? Do you allow, Gausman tonight, Scherzer tomorrow to go at him, or do you play it conservative? It's a confounding question every single time you play Judge and the Yankees.
Well, there's a question of, what's the right thing to do for Judge, but what about showing faith in your pitcher, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, bud, we just want you to just give him 4 and get out of it, or intentional walk, whatever it is. And I would like to, I know you're probably going to lose it, often enough where he's going to hit a bomb out. But I want to trust my players. Hey, man, you can do this because, whether it's today and whatever it is, July 21st, you're probably going to have to beat them at some point in the playoffs, and you might have to pitch to them. So I'd rather him pitch now and get that experience than pitch away from them, then all of a sudden get in the highest pressure moment and have to go through it. So I think you got to be really careful. I know people crank out the numbers and get their computer sheets out, but there's the emotional part of it as well that I think is really important, Jonas.
I have the spreadsheet up. I don't.
You would be that guy saying, don't pitch to him, please.
I just think you
can't fight Jonas.
Yeah, you can, because the numbers are facts and you can't argue with but no, I actually agree with you. And I actually don't think the personalities of some of these pitchers are going to allow for that. Like, is Kevin Gausman going to back down from Judge?
Especially
I don't think so.
early in a game.
Max Scherzer is not going to not pitch to Judge. Like, he just isn't. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's more like high leverage scenarios where you need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
If you're going to see him, let's say he gets 15 at bats, the next few days, you're not going to intentionally walk him 15 times. But, if you get into a high leverage situation where, bases are empty, 2 outs, you're up a run or two, maybe you avoid that, right? You dodge that bullet and you allow someone else to beat you. But I agree with you. I mean, tonight, Gausman's going to want him early, and Scherzer's going to want him tomorrow, and Bassett's going to want him on Wednesday. And I think that there's messaging to that. There's also faith in your own offense and the way that they're playing right now, that they can make up for any mistake that could happen. That you feel like if there's an arms race, so to speak, offensively, all of a sudden the Jays offense can keep up with anybody. We just saw it. Like, the Giants just couldn't do it. The Giants, they had opportunities, in particular over the weekend. Friday, obviously, the Jays won 4-0 and shut them out. But the Giants were putting runs on the board, and the Jays just kept answering, and continued to be the pace car, especially yesterday afternoon. So, I think, it's another perfect time for the Yankees to be up here. It's interesting, after they just swept them 2 weeks ago, and that was very monumental because that pushed them past the Yankees. They started that series 3 games back. They left it a game up. Now they're what are they, 3 games up on the Yankees? You got a real chance to separate now. Like, this is one where the Yankees are probably always going to be somewhat on your heels. But if you can take 2 out of 3 or get really greedy and find a way to sweep them, which seems crazy that you're going to beat them 7 times in a row over the course of 2 weeks. Seems unlikely. But if you can take 2 out of 3, like, you're really cooking with gas at that point. Like, you have a stranglehold on the division. Going into Detroit won last night, but prior to that, they had lost, I think, 6 in a row. You might be getting them at the right time. Trade deadline right around the corner. A lot of positive vibes. With the Jays right now. And it's interesting. We'll get into this a little bit later on. I don't know. I guess we could ask Kirkjian, but it's his colleague. You see, Skubal was pitching for the Tigers last night. Pitched a gem.
Yeah, again.
And, Buster Olney, who's just reporting and doing his job, and ESPN's objective in terms of, it's not a team broadcast, but the Tigers are leading the Central, leading the American League. Skubal's, Cy Young, he's going to win it again this year. And Olney basically said this guy's going to make $400 million, and it's just a matter of whether or not he goes to the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Mets. Which, needless to say, Tiger fans watching the broadcast did not love that type of reporting. I'm sure we can all probably reason with that, but Strud, you might be the best of the bunch here to speak to that. That would be like, an insider during being like, well, McDavid's going to make $20 million, and it's either the Leafs, the Rangers, or the Kings.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back to the third here, Oilers lead 3-2. Like, it's kind of a tough
hard.
report.
Because it doesn't matter what city you live in. You don't want it just happened with Toronto. Like Marner left, and it's hard. It's you know, you can say that it's not emotional. It is emotional. You're from Toronto. You choose to leave, and that's hard. And fans want to feel like you draft a player and you are theirs. You're part of them. You embrace the city and all that stuff. So when they hear that, they don't want to hear their young stud pitchers walking out the door at some point. He's theirs, right? You cheer for them. You buy his jerseys. You go to the games. Your kids idolize him. So it's really the emotional part more than I think that cerebral part of it, Jonas, that kind of gets the fans.
And they're in first place.
Well, that's it.
Right. Like,
Wait,
what about us?
Yeah.
But I would wonder, like, if I'm the Jays right now, and you're obviously have the Yankees in town, I wonder if you're the front office, how much you're thinking of like that whole. Do we have to like get this guy? Like Suarez is another name that comes up a lot. Like, do we have to get this guy to prevent him from going to the Yankees? How hard do we have to go in terms of what we add? Because we know the Yankees are not going to do nothing. Like, I've always been fascinated because you hear it at the trade deadline in the NHL, front offices will say, well, we don't really care what other teams are doing. We're just focused on. And it's like, come on. Like,
completely bogus. Yeah, you have to consider what other teams are doing. I mean, that's who you're competing with, competing against. Yeah, I do think that's a part of it. And like the Tigers are an interesting one because if it's just a foregone conclusion their best player is going to leave, and maybe you will, maybe you won't. And again, Olney's just being honest. Like if he gets $400 million, it's probably not in Detroit. That's just probably not going to be the Tigers' ownership that gives him that. It's going to be some crazy 8 or 10 year deal at $40 million a year, and it's probably the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers that are going to do that. But if that is a foregone conclusion, if you're the Tigers, are you in a window? Because they just bottomed out. Like they did that. They, a decade ago, just over a decade ago, they were one of the best teams in the American League, went to a World Series. That's when they had Verlander and Scherzer and Cabrera and all those guys. And then they bottomed out, and they were bad for a long time. And last year they had that magical run, one of the truly great August-September runs in recent history to make the playoffs. And now this year they're in a driver's seat to win a pretty bad Central Division, but still make the playoffs in a relatively watered-down American League. So are you going to trade assets where they're valuable and they got a pretty good farm system because you think you got a year or two window? Or do you have to look at it like we need those guys because we can't pay with the other big guys, in terms of going for it right now? It makes it complicated. And what I think, again, from a Jays lens, is you're pretty lucky because we're all, Jays fans are pretty lucky. Yes, it's not the Yankees, Mets, or Dodgers. Those three teams are different. They're separate. There was a time when the Red Sox were a part of that group. I wonder if they'll get back there again. Houston spent a lot of times, the Angels at different times, Texas at different times. But the Jays are one of the top 10 teams in the league that will pay. Like they're, they just proved it with Vladdy. They're not going to get Skubal, but if Skubal was a Jay, they might pay him that. They're kind of in a different world. They're not quite the Yankees. They're not the Tigers. They're somewhere in that middle ground where, I think you can feel like there's stability. And, in terms of going all in, that feels inevitable. It's just a matter of who and what that is. I'm not sure there's a starter available that's going to be better than Gausman, Bassett, or Barrios. So is there a purpose in that? I don't know.
But what's available, I guess, right?
Well, and we don't know that. That's the difficult
thing. Like if you have
to
pay through the nose for Joe Ryan.
Right. Is it worth
it worth all that?
I don't
Probably.
know. I would think it's more reasonable that they try to get two high quality leverage bullpen arms and have a 4 or 5 man bullpen that you love and trust, multiple guys that can pitch in high leverage, and that's what you're going to invest in. And trust Bassett, Barrios, and Gausman, trust or hope that Scherzer stays healthy. And that's kind of what you're going with in terms of rotation. You're going to ask for 3 or 4 innings out of your starters, and then you're going to go to a bullpen. I think that's the most realistic outcome here. But we'll see between now and the trade deadline. All right, so we've got Tim Kirkjian coming up just after 5 o'clock. His take on the Jays being on a heater, Jays-Yankees tonight. The trade deadline around the corner. Bo Bichette, his deal up at the end of the year. Where does it go with Bo? It's a big stretch run for him as well in terms of his future, maybe here in Toronto or elsewhere. We'll get into all that and more still to come. And the Open Championship is officially behind us, and it was a breeze, man. When Scheffler had the lead after 36 holes, it was over. Yeah. At that point, you could just put his name on the claret jug. It was done. There was no way he was going to lose. He didn't. He made it look easy. I think I said on Friday he's just going to shoot 68 and fall asleep on Sunday. That's what he did. 68 on the nose and just walks it home. And guy's an absolute machine. We'll come back and get into that. We've got our obviously we're going to review what happened over the course of the weekend, but we'll keep looking ahead to the Yankees and Jays series again tonight. Struddy's in here, Jonas in here. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Dan Rappaport will join us a little bit later on. He was overseas. Royal Portrush. Scottie Scheffler winning his fourth major. just so routine all weekend. Like, the guy is such a machine. And I saw someone put, the stats together. He's, over the last 2.5 years, 3 years, he's basically accomplished Jordan Spieth's whole career in terms of the majors, in terms of tournaments wins. When you look at, his last 3 years compared to what Tiger Woods was doing, I think between 02 and 05, basically the same amount of wins, amount of, strokes gained, all that kind of stuff. And it's always going to be, well, Tiger. And I don't think that's a fair bar to set. Like, Tiger's a different beast. But in terms of him just being so dialed in, and I fully expect him to win the way I expected Tiger to win back in the day, it's not far off. Like, it's not far off. Yeah, he doesn't have the aura of Tiger. He doesn't want to be Tiger. Again, those are his remarks. Like, he just he loves to play, and he plays, and then he wants to go home. That's cool. He's not going to transcend the game like Tiger. That's not going to happen. No one was going to do it. But in terms of, like, distance control and being automatic and never seemingly screwing up anything, guy's a machine. I don't think there's anyone close to him.
No, and I think that, a couple things. So, yeah, I think consistency. He's a really good player, but he's consistent. He hits the shots at the right time, like that chip on the first to put it close and gets the birdie. It's like, we're on TV off, right? Yep. Obviously, I stepped watching it. But I was thinking about this a lot, and this is what I think. You listen to his comments even after, again, golf is third, and that's great. I love family, faith. I think that's fantastic. But the difference between Tiger Woods and almost every other player of this generation, or the one where Tiger was part of, is that Tiger wanted to destroy his opponents. And I think he put the work in all the time. I don't think Tiger Woods probably ever took a day off. He was always at the range, working out. Whatever he had to do, he was working on it. And I think you look at a guy like Jordan Spieth, fell off. Rory fell off. You go through all the guys that were good for a while, then they fall off. I believe that Rory will follow in their footsteps, because it's hard to stay at the pinnacle, because you have to put so much time in, because he's not programmed like Tiger Woods was. He's an amazing player, but he can't keep that edge forever, Jonas. So I think we'll see him fall off. And no one's probably going to run up to what Tiger did, but the length of Tiger was because he was so focused, and I don't think that anyone else is programmed that way.
Well, I was thinking watching over the weekend, and I wanted actually, like, I'm not a big golf person, and I was actually going to watch because I was intrigued, but it just felt very inevitable. And so I was thinking, like, the last day or so, like, who are the most inevitable athletes, like, I've watched? And, like, I would put Jordan 1, Tiger 2, and then the 3 guys in tennis, and I guess you could throw Serena in there as well, where it just felt like every big tournament, every big moment, you kind of just felt like it was going to happen. And that's how it felt over the weekend. Like, it just felt like inevitable. Like, he was just going to win. It wasn't compelling. It was just kind of over.
Yeah, and I mean, the difference between golf and tennis is interesting, because, like, tennis, someone has to individually beat you. And I think if you got to put collectively the 3 of them together, because they beat each other, right? It wasn't a guarantee Federer would win. Or
I just mean, like, early Federer, it was just like he was winning every slam.
Seemingly. And Djokovic there for a run, obviously, considering he's got more slams than anybody. And you're right, though. Like, in terms of, I guess, with golf, like any other sport, if the guy's dialed in, he's just so much better. Like, that's really what it is. Like, he's just better than everybody else. Off the tee, his irons, his approach game, his scramble, his ability to putt, which was always a struggle in the past, but he's improved greatly. He's got a clutch gene. He's got that mentality where he doesn't seem nervous, which is probably the ultimate cheat code, right? In the most suspenseful moments in sports, that's what made Jordan so great. That's the ultimate trump card with the Jordan-LeBron stuff, is the clutch gene of Jordan, which sometimes it's overplayed. It's not 100% accurate, but it became this larger-than-life thing where you're like, he wants the ball, he's going to hit the shot, and it's going in, and it's over, right? And Kobe had an element of that as well. And Scheffler's got it. Like, Scheffler has that vibe to him. There was no way he was choking. There was no way he was going to throw it away. There was just no way. And now he's got 4 majors. He's a U.S. Open away from the career slam, so that becomes a big story of the next 2 or 3 U.S. Opens. Wouldn't surprise anyone if he won it again, if he won it next year and just closed. And he's 29 years old. So how, and the question you bring up, Strud, is a valid one. How long can you stay sharp? That's probably the true testament of the all-time great, like the GOAT chats, you got to have a long, like you got to have a decade, 12, 14 years, right? That's the requisite. You got to have that. And Scheffler's had it now for about 3. So I'd say he needs another 5 or 6 years of like all-time great play to launch into a conversation where you can even chat about him as a top 5 player, top 10 player. Is he on pace? Sure, but you got to have more than that.
But Strutty makes a good point. Like, can you do that if you're not an insane person?
I don't know. Because some guys are wired that way. Like the way he spoke on
Fair.
it about other things being, more important than him, I think he's being genuine. So I don't know. Like I don't know. I mean, I look at a guy like Mahomes, where I think Mahomes is wired that way, where he's a freak of nature, where like he lost the Super Bowl. He was in the 3rd straight Super Bowl, and there were videos of him walking into the facility, a few weeks later, working out, and being like, he's back on the grind. Like it's a crazy mentality you have to have. Brady was probably at the top of that list.
And I think, but the hard part of that is you're always being chased. So it's easier to chase someone than to be, the one who's being chased, because you have to push yourselves. You don't have someone to follow to try to catch. So right now, Rory said it after. He was like, he's the bar we're all trying to catch. Mm-hmm. So they all know, and they all, took a run on Sunday. They all kind of got, all within, 5 or 6, but it really didn't look like they were going to catch him. But those guys can all go down and go to the chipping green and work on their chips, knowing they have to get a stroke better per round to tie, not to beat him, just to tie him.
Right.
So, and then the challenge for Scottie is that he has one child. I'm guessing he's going to have more, and then that takes a bit of your time. It takes a bit of your energy, and that's just human nature. So how do you push that? Not push it to the side, but do everything you need to do, and then allot that whatever time's left to your family. Because right now the child's pretty young. He didn't have a kid before. You can just do whatever you want. You come home, see your wife, give her a hug, kiss, dinner. You're good to go. But when you have kids, it gets harder, and that's where I give credit. A lot of credit. He was so dialed in. I don't believe he missed anything, and nothing was compromised his desire to be the best. And that's what gave him such a long runway. And he had a circus going on around him. Like, it's incredible what he accomplished.
Yeah, like with Tiger, you add in the burner phones and everything else. You're like, what the hell's going on with this guy? How is he so good? But, yeah, it is – it also, I would have to believe, and this will be a challenge too for Scheffler, is how intoxicating it is, though, to keep to hold on to what you have now. Because, again, he basically said he's willing to give that up like that if he has to, right? Like in the blink of an eye. And I'm sure there were other guys who would have said that, and then they got it, and they had it, and they're like, I'm not giving this up. Like, and, again, Tom Brady's probably the best example of that. Like, Brady, if he had retired 5 years earlier, he's still probably the greatest ever. Like, he had probably accomplished that by the time he was 40. Did he have to go to Tampa? Probably not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say the Tampa years just never happened. COVID hit. He breaks loose with Belichick and Kraft and the Pats and goes, you know what? I'm retired. I'm just going to go, and I got a family, and I'm done. He's probably already the greatest of all time. But he couldn't because he was Tom Brady, and he's like, I need a challenge. I need to go. I need to play. I know I can still play. I'm not giving it up. This Mahomes kid's here. He's not taking it from me while I'm still going. Like, I'm not giving that up. And I'm curious how that applies to Scheffler. Like, is he really willing to give it up? It sounds like he is. It sounds like that's the way he's wired. And hopefully this never has to be a legitimate conversation. Like, hopefully nothing happens where he's ever got to leave the game. But, man, it's intoxicating when you're the man for a long time. You've got it. You've got the mantle. Everyone looks to you. You're the king. That's tough, man. That becomes incredibly intoxicating.
But it doesn't seem like he really wants
drug like
any of that.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Jonas. I don't think he's into that either.
Like,
doesn't
are there any
seem like
commercials? Like, do we know him from?
Doesn't do anything. Well, Spieth was talking on that. We'll come back and we'll play the Spieth thing. Spieth knows them. They're both Texans. I think they grew up playing together a lot. They know each other very well. And Spieth basically said this guy is wired completely different than everybody else. So we'll play that. We'll get into it. Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza. We got a spicy one for both of you guys today on that front. So we'll get to that. We're going to unveil a bracket as well. TSN Radio's got a bracket, the most valuable athlete of the last 25 years here in Toronto. We'll unveil that. We'll go through our 8 picks today, and then we'll keep whittling it down day in, day out as we get closer to the end of the week. Dan Rappaport on the show today. We got Keegan coming up live from the park. Jays Yankees tonight. Tim Kirkjian in about 25 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Tim Kirkjian of ESPN in about 20 minutes. Jays on a heater. They come out of the break with a sweep. What a statement. Like you talked about it last week, Strutty, when you come out of the All-Star break, like the importance of putting your best foot forward and everyone contributing and making a statement. You couldn't ask for a better one this weekend.
No, it's fantastic. I think the big thing is not to ease your way back in. Come back with a purpose, and then it sets the tone for your, whatever, and question second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's perfect. And that's what we saw. Now, I saw Keegan Matheson, who will join us later this afternoon, giving us an update, or I guess John Schneider, an update on Anthony Santander, and he's still like week to week. There's inflammation in the shoulder. These are one of the scenarios where if they know he's not going to play, just say he's not going to play.
You mean like don't say day to day for 3 weeks?
Like I kind of get the impression they know he's not going to play. It's not going to harm you one way or the other. It's not the end of the world one way or the other. It kind of feels like it's a little carrot that they're hanging out. Like maybe Santander, he could still contribute this year, and obviously they'd like him to, but this guy has been on the 60-day IL. He's not even swinging. He's weeks away from swinging. So obviously he's have to go down to Dunedin, work out for a couple of weeks, and then rehab stints. Like, we're running out of weeks, as Keegan tweeted out.
But I think what is that it weakens your bargaining position. If you're going into the market to get a player like him, you have to make people believe this guy's coming back. Well, this is just insurance. Jonas will just be our insurance guy. Yep. Meanwhile, you know what's going. So I think it's not about. Unfortunately, it's not about the fans. It's about the other teams.
Well,
which
what if
is reasonable? Yep.
What if there's a world where he just comes back and he's just like a bat on your bench in the playoffs? Like, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be weird that he was your big fish that you went out and got? You paid a fortune to. And
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, maybe he could Kirk Gibson for us one time and come in and pinch hit.
But that's like
around.
Everybody
got a jersey for him.
Everybody they acquired. It's like they're kind of like Scherzer's made his way back. Hoffman's obviously been around, but it's like what happens with Jimenez when he comes back? How does that impact the like?
Well, and the reality is, like, even if Santander was 100% healthy, he's playing because of the financial commitment. Like, they will have him playing in some capacity. Mm-hmm. But do you really want him taking swings over Addison Barger right now? I don't. Like, I'm not taking Barger out of the lineup for him.
No.
Like, that's clearly not going to happen.
But you're going to want the bop at some point, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, at some point, you rely on a guy who's 31 that's been in the league for a long time, that has a track record that you've invested in, that he's going to supply more than what Will Wagner is or Joey Luperfido or what, they'd find a role for him and he'd play. I'm just, it's one of those apple cart things. Like, do you want to mess with a good thing right now where there has been a lot of guys in and out of the lineup? Like, it is rolled over from day to day. If they're facing lefties, facing righties, they have shown some depth here, and it would only add to that, which would certainly be a bonus. But it is somewhat amazing that it's July 21st. They have the same amount of wins as the Dodgers, and you're sitting here saying, "Oh, I don't know if we need Santander." Like, it would be a bonus. It's kind of incredible.
You want the option, though. You want to have that option. So if you can get him back and you can get healthy, now you're right, it does feel a little bit unlikely, but if he is able to get back and feel healthy, I want to see where he fits in. I want to figure it out because he'd be an upgrade in a lot of situations. But if he's not 100%, that's an easy answer as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I just want that. I'd want to have that option rather than not having it, for sure. So I think that's why they're maybe keep trying to push it, that end.
Sure. And listen, we still have a couple of months left in the season. There is time for him to possibly recover, come back. He's not having surgery to our knowledge. At least they haven't determined that. So if it's simply just rest and rehab, then, obviously it's still possible that he could arrive down the road. But, yeah, it is pretty incredible. And, we're tracking what's going on down in Dunedin, and Varsho's down there, and I think he is probably going to return in the next couple of weeks. But Manoah pitched really well yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, but, like, his numbers are pretty good through a lot of strikes. He looks all right. I don't know. I am more skeptical personally. I was talking to my buddy about that over the weekend. He was throwing it out like it was a foregone conclusion. Manoah would return and help out in some way, and I'm not convinced that's going to happen at all. But that's an easy story to root for. Like, by the end, it was really ugly, but it'd just be incredible if he returned in some capacity.
Like, when you go take that surgery, when you start, like, the actual pitching, how long does it usually take you to get you back on the, like, legit playing, pitching in the majors? Let's assume that he is a major league pitcher.
Yeah.
Like, is it a month? How much time do you need?
I don't know. It's a while. I mean, that's the thing. And, like, I would think they'd leave him down there, like, for as long as they possibly can. Like there are contractual things that have to be considered in terms of, once he's recovered and the PA, and if he's ready to move up, where does he move to, and all that kind of stuff. But I think you would be afforded a fair amount of time. Now that, I believe, was the second time out. So I don't have an answer for you, Strud, in terms of how long he could be down there until he's got to move somewhere or got to be expected to do something. And the Jays wouldn't be the only team, watching him and tracking him. Like every team might be looking at him thinking, all right, if it gets to a point where he's just a free agent and someone wants to take a flyer on him, that's possible as well. But, the Manoah story in general is pretty incredible that, it's possible he factors in. I'm doubtful, but it's possible. We'll ask Keegan Matheson about that a little bit later this afternoon. Something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. So we saw, FanDuel was pumping these out. Like they've got all these different kind of props and these different kind of 1v1 type betting models that they generally lean into, and a lot of it is Canadian-based and popular players. But we saw them posing the question, who is going to have more points next season, Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner? And we thought we'd float that out, something to chew on. And Jonas, you can take the floor. I'm sure you've thought of this. Who do you think will have more points next year, Matthews or Marner?
I have not thought about this, so I don't. Matthews.
Haven't thought about that.
No.
Okay, well that's even better. Then you got to go in clean. Can't pump in the stats. Can't consider any of the projections.
I would take Marner.
You'd go with Mitch.
Why is that?
It's a good question because like Marner's more a point producer, and I mean the funny thing is Matthews has more points. Yeah, but I think of Marner. I don't know. Like he just is able to kind of stack up points easier because of he gets so many assists. Mm-hmm. I don't know what effect him not being on the team, on Marner's line, on the power, or on Matthews' line, on the power play is going to have on Matthews. I don't know what impact it's going to have on the team as a whole, goal scoring wise. I don't know. Like if I was projecting next year for Marner, I would guess like he'll have like 95 to 99 points. Mm-hmm. And if I was going to guess on Matthews, I guess I would do like 90 to 95.
Okay. So you're on Mitch. All right. Struddy, do you have an answer on that?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to agree with Jonas as I usually do. But
18.
This is why. So I believe that Marner's going to a situation he'll be more comfortable with because he gets to play with a really strong center that he can work with, and they can get him the puck and vice versa. Whereas with Matthews, he doesn't have someone, at least clear to me, who's going to be playing beside him there. He'll have Nyes for sure, and maybe Nyes will take more of a role as far as carrying the puck or having the puck more than he has in the past when those other two guys are on the ice. So I think for Marner, the transition will be cleaner and simpler because Jack Eichel, although he's a righty, should be able to get him the puck more often and play a bit more catch with him rather than what Matthews is dealing with now with the group he has.
Now, Eichel is more of a I consider him more of a playmaker than a pure shooter.
That's interesting.
Now, that's the thing. And that has been brought up. Some people have brought that up in terms of talking about Vegas, is that they don't have a lot of pure goal scorers there. They got a lot of playmakers, but, a lot of guys want to pass first as opposed to shoot first. If you include Eichel and Hurdle and Stone, and, that's obviously their big four up front. I think it'll be very close. I question whether or not Marner is going to put up the same amount of points based on the history of the Vegas Golden Knights, where there just isn't generally guys who put up massive numbers. We talked about this multiple times last year. Eichel set a franchise record last year, albeit they've only been around for a decade.
Well, and they haven't had a guy like him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean,
like who would you say who is that? Eichel? Like
Eichel's a better player than Mitch Marner, though. Like Eichel,
right?
So they've had better players,
bigger.
And he's a center.
But in terms of like his ability to stack up points, here's the question I have: like, Hayes, if you were going to project, how many goals do you think Matthews scores next year?
I think he's going to hit 50.
Okay, so
I'm going to lean into him having a big bounce back year.
Fair, I agree with that. So let's say he scores 50, right? Mm-hmm. Is he going to get 45 assists? Like, who is he setting up? Like, where?
Well, I mean, this is where, again, the first power play, if he's out there with Nylander, who's one of the 7 or 8 best goal scorers in the league,
But he's a shooter on the power play generally.
Generally, yeah. But he's still, you pick up secondary assists, you move the puck around. Like on the power play, I hear what you're saying, but so is Draisaitl. Draisaitl racks up assists.
But he's a better passer than Matthews. And when Matthews had the 107 points?
He's at 107 and 106.
And I think those were both, actually I know, those were both 60-goal seasons.
Big goal-scoring years.
So if that's going to happen, if he's going to have 60 goals, which is possible, he'll probably.
If he ends up with 60 goals, he'll have more points than Mitch Marner.
Yes,
sure. I have no doubt in that. Now, I'm not sure he's going to hit 60 again in his career. Those are
ever.
I don't know if he will. I mean, again, he's going into his 10th year. He's not young. Now Marner's gone. I wonder where his priorities go in terms of team first, defense, load management. It's an Olympic year. He's going to play a lot of hockey. I don't know. I mean, I expect a much better year. I think Matthews will have a great year. I think he should be motivated to have an unbelievable season, without Marner. Because now all of a sudden, this is the best goal scorer in the world, and people are questioning whether or not he can score without a guy.
But part of it is health.
What a shot
right?
at him.
Health
is a big part of it.
The biggest part of it all.
Huge and huge in terms of this projection.
Yeah. More than Marner,
big time. Marner's going to play 82 games.
No, but I mean, more what is he going to score is more to me by a lot about health than it is about Marner.
Yes,
if he's healthy,
he's
going to score 50 goals. I have no doubt.
Right. Yeah, I think there's truth in that. Now, there's also the element of Marner may take him a while to fit in. He might. I don't think he'll Stamkos and March's so it, but he might get there and it's uneasy and it's not a perfect fit right off the bat.
Yeah.
Why is that just impossible?
Just his personality. He's a very outgoing. I just don't see that.
Okay.
But it's not impossible. You're right.
It seems very, very possible that it will be somewhat of a transition for him at a minimum. But
sure.
All right, Jonas. All right. More on this into the next hour. Tim Kirkjian coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Put some miles on it. Back of the Chevy with the engine running. Just you and me in a truck bed wide like a California king. We could break it in if you know.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jonas Siegel, Jason Strudwick, Tim Kirkchin of ESPN in a few moments. Jays Yankees tonight down at the Ryder Center. Another beautiful day in Toronto. Dome will be open. Man, there were a lot of people in the seats over the weekend, as you would expect. And you get a sweep, you're leading the American League East, you're in a good spot. A lot of buzz, man. The seats the next 3 nights will be packed. It's going to be great. Jays Yankees. Can't beat it. Starting tonight. Getting close to the trade deadline. We've got, again, it kind of sucks. Like all the majors are done in golf. There's got to be a major in August, I think. They used to have the PGA in August. They moved it to May. I just don't like the idea of kind of all the big tournaments are already done. You know? I don't know if you guys have a take on that or what?
No, you know what? I was actually talking about with my cousin today, and I think that you get a little. Is there fatigue as you get into? Because you start getting into August, baseball's heating up. We got football coming in, hockey's starting to get going. So I kind of like it as done at this point, and then you just kind of move on with the next sport, even though it's a bit unfair to the PGA, probably, Jonas.
I have as a non-golf fan, I have a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it on like a Sunday or a Saturday, like when the weather's nice outside? I only want to be outside. What do you do? Like, do you watch outside? Like, it's
all about knowing when the leaders are going to go out. Like, this is the thing. Like, golf, if you're not a golf fan, you might look at it and say, well, you just watch golf all day? No, I don't care about the guy who just made the cut, who tees off at 9:30. I'm not watching him. But the leaders go out at like 3 o'clock. Now, the Open's different, obviously, because, the time change. Scottie, I think, teed off at like 9:30 yesterday. But, like, you get to the U.S. Open, the leaders tee off at like 3 o'clock. So you have all day. And if you just want to catch them even on the back nine, just be inside by 5:30, 6 o'clock. You're going to watch all of the action. So ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Like, you got to be a real freak of nature to be watching everything in a golf tournament. Like, if you're not employed by some company to do that, you got to be crazy to be watching, like, 12 hours of golf 4 days a week.
Yeah, and the wife and kids have to be very understanding. To dig in like that. You really, because it's a long, long time to watch. I generally speaking, I check in the scores Thursday and Friday, try to watch a little bit. Then as you work towards Sunday on the majors, I'll watch it if it's close. If it's not close, I'm like, okay, I watched a little bit earlier, I move on. But if it was yesterday, I was able to watch it all because of the time change. Mm-hmm. And I had some family in town, so we were kind of watching it all together. But it's a little bit harder when it's regular time. But when it's fun, like the majors are fun. It's
so much fun. The course is a part of it. The history is a part of it. And like that's where I think tennis gets hit personally, especially on the men's side. Where what's the point of watching Sinner's first match? What's the point?
Yeah.
Like you talk about it being routine, and that was the same thing like with Djokovic and Nadal and Federer. Why watch them in the first round? Like why watch Federer in the first round of Wimbledon back in 2010? What's the point? It's probably straight sets, and you're never going to hear from that guy again. But as it gets deeper into the tournament, and we're seeing that with the current men's game, like if Sinner and Alcaraz are going to meet, you have to see that. Like you have to watch it. And I think with Scheffler's dominance, it's more like I got to see it on the weekend. I got to see it on Sunday to see how he closes, and it speaks to his greatness. But again, up here, it's all Jays all the time. Like when they sweep the Giants coming out of the All-Star break, they've won 15 of their last 20. I think they've won 10 in a row at home. They're turning over the roster consistently. They got Vladdy hitting third, Bichette hitting cleanup now. They got different leadoff hitters seemingly every day, and nothing can stop them. They're as hot as anybody in baseball right now, and we're chugging towards the trade deadline. And to chat about it, we're joined now by ESPN insider analyst. He does it all. Joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's Tim Kirkchin. How you doing, Tim?
I'm well, fellas. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing very well. We're enjoying baseball again. It's funny how that can change over the course of a year, where this time last year it obviously wasn't going so well for the Jays, and this year it has. And we've had a difficult time really putting our finger on it because you look at the lineup, Santander's not playing. Jimenez isn't been playing and isn't really doing anything. Hoffman's numbers haven't been great. He's pitching, but he hasn't been great. It's effectively that internal improvement that Ross Atkins took so much heat for a year and a half ago, that commentary, that has finally arrived. What do you make of the Jays being as red hot as they are?
Well, it's pretty darn impressive what they're doing now. It's not just, 15 out of 20, 7 out of 10. I think they've gone 33 and 14. That's a pretty good chunk of the season. Mm-hmm. And you look at their roster and you look at the way they're doing it, and it's not entirely clear how they're doing this, which is a really good sign. If it were obvious, look at this starting pitching. It's unstoppable. Or this bullpen, which has been very good, by the way, has been unbelievable. Or look how many home runs they hit. The only thing you can point to is that they don't strike out very much. They strike out fewer times than anybody else. And maybe the ball's in play, maybe the tough at-bats they take are leading to something good. But where they are right now is a pretty strong position in a winnable division. So I am thoroughly impressed with the way that the Blue Jays have played now for almost 50 games. That's a third of the season nearly, and that's impressive.
Tim, if you go back to the way the season ended last year, then a lot of the offseason conversation was about what could happen if the season goes off the rails for the upper management, the president, those types of positions. So they are where they are now. How much does this surge this year change the future in those two positions moving forward?
Well, I think it shows that maybe we were a little premature saying we got to make some moves here. I know I did a couple of network shows early on in the season and said, well, you got to fire the manager, don't you? And I said, I don't think that's the right thing to do right now. I'm wrong a lot. We are all wrong a lot in baseball. But as it turned out, we were right in keeping John Schneider as the manager and Ross Atkins, because right now they're in first place by 3 games in the American League East. So this is why you can't ever give up on baseball. The Nationals in 2019 were 19-31, and they went on to win the World Series. Last year, the Tigers were an afterthought until the middle of August when they won a game in Williamsport on Sunday night, beating the Yankees in the 9th inning, and that's when they turned. So there's no telling with this beautiful game of baseball when the light's going to go on. And maybe the light has gone on for the Blue Jays. And what they also have working for them is that, the Red Sox aren't great. The Yankees aren't great. The Rays aren't great. And the Orioles are stumbling. So it's a winnable division, and they're playing better than anyone in the division right now.
Yeah, they sure are. And, again, you look at the lineup, Ernie Clement is going to lead off tonight. Jimenez is playing second, but obviously not bringing really anything offensively. Miles Straw is playing center field. Lord Perfito's out and right. It's kind of wild. Like, if you looked at this roster last year and they were on pace for 76 wins, and now this year they're on pace for, mid-90s. And it's pretty incredible. And you mentioned, a couple of the more recent teams, like in 19 with the Nationals and last year with the Tigers. In 15, the Jays were famously 50-51, and they put their chips in the middle and went out and got Tulowitzki. They went out and got Price, and they were the hottest team in the league the rest of the way and made it all the way to the ALCS in back-to-back years. So with that in mind, the Jays, this current roster is clearly in a much better position. What would your projection be? I'm sure you've been asked a lot. Like, what is your projection on what the Jays do between now and the trade deadline?
Well, you're going to be in there with so many other teams looking for another hitter and another pitcher. I think everyone needs to look towards the Diamondbacks right now because they have probably the best hitter available, Eugenio Suarez, who's got 35 homers and consecutive games with multi-homers. And he's a slightly above average defensive third baseman. He didn't used to be, but he is now. He's a team leader and a clubhouse force. So he would be perfect for the Blue Jays, but he would be perfect for every other team that needs a hitter, Yankees, Mets, Cubs, and things like that. Also, they have a couple of pitchers for the Diamondbacks that could help any team. Merrill Kelly, free agent at the end of the year. So I think we really got to keep our eyes on the Diamondbacks first as to what they're going to do. My guess is, from what I'm told, they're going to sell. Question is, to whom are they going to sell, and are the are the Blue Jays going to be, right in the middle of this? My guess is they won't be, because the teams that need players usually have more resources and more money to deal with than the Blue Jays do. That is the Mets and the Yankees. So it's going to be tough to get exactly what they want, but I wouldn't mess too much with the way the team is playing right now.
Well, Tim, that kind of gets at one of the issues with the deadline this year is there's just not a lot out there that seems like it's readily available. How do front offices usually confront a problem like that when the starting pitching is you mentioned Merrill Kelly, Zach Allen, those guys might not be upgrades on Gausman, on Barrios. How do you handle that if you're a front office when what's out there is kind of okay and maybe better, but maybe not? Do you just do nothing? Do you go to a different need? How do you think that they handle a situation like that this year, especially?
Yeah, well, this is why I've heard from more than one person over the years. General managers earn all their money right now. Are we in it or are we out of it? Are we sellers or are we buyers? Are we going for it or are we going to sit pat here? And those decisions can affect an organization depending on the organization for years to come. So these are the difficult questions that have to be answered. Is Zach Gallen really an upgrade? Is he your fourth starter when you get him? Are there three starters better than him on the Blue Jays right now? Because if he's going to be your fourth starter, you can't give up a significant amount to get him. Now, if you say, all right, he's our number 2 starter, he's that good, maybe that's a different story. But this is where you have to value players and assign value and say this guy can really help us here. And I agree. I just don't see a tremendous market out there for starting pitchers who can make a difference and hitters who can make a difference. Now, there are going to be relief pitchers everywhere. Someone like Griffin Jacks of the Twins might move, and he could really help some teams. Kyle Finnegan of the Nationals likely will be available. He could help some teams. This is where most teams add to their team at the trade deadline is with relievers, because you win a great deal in the postseason with a deep, versatile bullpen.
With Tim Kirkjian of ESPN, I think that's most likely because you look at the 3-pack of Barrios, Gausman, and Bassett. They're always healthy. Knock on wood. They're good pitchers. None of them are going to be up for a Cy Young right now, but they're good players, capable pitchers. They're putting up decent numbers, and that's the question. Can you find anyone that's better than any of the individuals or the collective three? I'm not sure they can, or if they're willing to pay for whoever that is, or if they have the assets to get them. But I think the conundrum, or at least I'm sure what they're contemplating right now, Tim, and I'm curious where you stand on this, is are you building for playoff success, or if you're the Jays, are you still building to win the division, or maybe finishing one of the top 2 seeds in the American League and avoid the wild card altogether? Because that's where, Eric Lauer and Max Scherzer, they're wild cards. Lauer's been really good for them. Is it going to keep up? If you fall into a wild card spot because Lauer falls off in September, you kick yourself. If Scherzer gets hurt next week or 3 weeks from now, you're going to kick yourself. What do you think is more? What do you think the goalpost is? I guess is what I'm getting to. Do you think it's still regular season success, winning the division, or do you think you use the next week and a half, 2 weeks to build a World Series caliber team, which may be a different conversation?
Yeah, it is a different conversation, especially when you consider the power that is in the National League. And I think the Tigers are just better right now than the Blue Jays are. Now, the Tigers just lost 6 games in a row. So in this crazy season where there are very, very few exemplary teams, the Jays have to look at it 2 different ways. Can we win the World Series with this team? If they think they can, then they got to go out and make it a World Series team at the trade deadline. But the first thing they have to do is try to win the division, because this whole thing, rest over rust, you do not want to play in one of those 2 out of 3 wild card series. They are just so difficult to win and then to overcome and be ready for the next round. So I would think they would do everything it takes within reason to win the American League East and get a bye, likely get a bye to start the postseason.
Tim, when you look at this team, what they have as far as youth on the team, maybe in the system, and the mindset of the managers, you mentioned you have to go all in, but how much do you dip your toe into your talent pool of young players to sacrifice some of the future, thinking this team with Vladdy and these types of guys under contract could be a good team for a few years here?
Yeah, again, this is why this is so difficult for a GM, is making these decisions. Do we take one of our prized kids to go get somebody who's going to be our third or fourth or maybe worse starting pitcher? Do we get another bat, but he's not necessarily an impact bat? I repeat, I don't see too many impact bats out there. So this is where you have to gauge it. It's going to be a little easier on the Blue Jays because they're playing so well right now. If they were in trouble and they're just trying to make the playoffs and then don't do anything, that's going to be hard to justify. But being 3 games ahead and winning 33 out of the last 47 games, they have a little bit of a cushion to look at the guys in the clubhouse and say, you guys are really good. We don't need much help here. It's when you're struggling and the guys in the clubhouse look at you and go, are you going to do something? That's when the pressure's really on. I don't sense that pressure right now on the Blue Jays.
With Tim Kurkjian of ESPN, Bo Bichette is, a pending free agent. Now, Vladdy's future has been secured. We know he's getting paid, and he's going to be a Blue Jay for a long time. What is your best guess on where Bichette will play next year, Toronto or the field?
That's a great question. Look, he's played pretty darn well lately, fellas, as you know. He's hitting, 280, 280-something. He's got 12 homers. He's knocked in 55 runs, way above average shortstop in the major leagues. He's been with you the whole time. He's a hit machine when he's really swinging it well. He's had seasons where he's finished unbelievably strong. He comes from great stock, given who his dad was and the whole gene pool. I would build around him and Vladdy. You've already built around one. I would tell Bo Bichette, you're part of this team moving forward. It's hard to find an everyday shortstop who can hit like he can hit. And even though he's not a great defensive shortstop, he can play the position still. And it's hard to find a shortstop that can play it as long as he has in these days. So I would lock him up. It's not my money, but I think they have enough money in the organization to say, if we're going to lock up a second guy long-term, it should be him.
Well, Tim, you mentioned off the top how big a stretch this is for this team playing well. How seriously, though, do you take them as a World Series contender? Like you mentioned, you don't think they're better than Detroit, but are they second, third, fourth in the AL for you? And where do you actually see their potential?
Well, I think you can make a case at the moment that they're the second best team in the American League. However, as we've said, things have changed in this league, in both leagues, but especially the American League, so quickly. The Astros were so hot, and now suddenly they're not. The Mariners were so average, and now suddenly they're hot. Everyone in the American League East has gone up and down except for the Orioles, who have just been down the whole year. So it's just another reminder there are no great teams in the American League. And this year, the National League, there are fewer really good teams than I thought there would be. But if you're going to try to win the World Series, you have to be honest and say right now the Tigers are better. Right now, the Phillies and the Brewers and the Cubs and the Dodgers are better. I mean, that's 5 or 6 teams right there. Now, that doesn't mean it can't change, because in this crazy game, things change from day to day. But if you're going to be honest and say, can we win the World Series, I think they have to go out and make a major move, and I just don't know how many major moves are out there.
With Tim Kurkjian, and you're right about it changing quickly. I mean, 2 weeks ago, the Yankees came through town for a 4-game series. The Jays were 3 games back of them, and the Yankees left town, and the Jays were a game up on them after a 4-game sweep. And now you got the Yankees back in town tonight. They just took 2 of 3 down in Atlanta. And, the evergreen topic awaits us. We've got Gausman on the mound tonight, Scherzer on the mound tomorrow, Bassett on the mound on Wednesday. And Aaron Judge is obviously putting forth a season that very few players have ever put forth in the history of the game. The stats are just absolutely insane. And we ask it every time they play the Yankees. How much should you pitch to Judge? How often should you give him something to look at or something to swing at? Where do you stand on that topic, especially considering the significance of this series? Now, late July, Jays in the lead, a real chance to take a stranglehold on the American League East. what do you believe John Schneider's approach should be to Aaron Judge?
Well, you got to be really, really careful with him because it's proven this year that the Yankees lineup as a total can be pitched to. Remember, they got shut out 3 games in a row this year. No Yankee team has ever been shut out 4 games in a row. They scored in a 6-game span. They scored 7 runs. It ties the worst 7-game stretch of any team in the history of the Yankees. So you can pitch to them when Judge either isn't swinging well or he's not being allowed to swing at anything good. And he doesn't chase out of the strike zone very often anymore, which is the biggest change and has turned him from a big slugger into a great hitter. So I would be exceptionally careful with him, but that's just me. We don't pitch around people like we used to, and sometimes that's a mistake. And in the Yankees' case, he's so dangerous right now. Why would you pitch to him if there's any alternative?
Well, we were having this debate last week about what Judge possibly could accomplish, and our colleague, your former colleague, your current colleague, Steve Phillips, had mentioned to us that he thinks Judge could be cruising towards being the greatest Yankee of all time, a greatest Yankee hitter, which caught my eye. Or I went back at him and said, that's interesting. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Mantle and all these incredible DiMaggio. Where do you stand on this? Like, if he ends up, winning the Triple Crown this year, which is very possible, he cruises towards 55, 60 home runs again. Like, what kind of season could this do, or could this be in terms of Judge and his resume as an all-time Yankee? And I guess it's just an all-time offensive season.
Yeah, well, if he does what you're saying and he hits 60 homers and wins the Triple Crown and wins another MVP, then we have to start considering some things here. But and he's the best hitter in the game. He is so dangerous, but he's not Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth did this for a long time, right? He's not even halfway to Babe Ruth's home run total. However, he got to 350 homers in fewer games than any player in Major League history. And he's not Lou Gehrig, because Lou Gehrig did things that some players will never do. I mean, really, no one's ever done when it comes to driving in runs per game, things like that. So I'm going to pump the brakes on Ruth, Gehrig, and right now Mantle, DiMaggio, and even Yogi Berra. But we are really rolling towards something exceptional here with Aaron Judge because of what he's done the last 5 years. This has been an amazing 5-year run, and it's far, far from over. So you have to check back in 5 more years if we're going to put him in there with Ruth and Gehrig.
Yes, I have a very similar view, but it is incredible what he's doing, man. It is amazing. Like, he is must-see TV right now, and he's in town. The Yankees are in town for 3, but Jays are in the driver's seat, which is pretty incredible, even where you consider they were 2 weeks ago. He is Tim Kirkjian of ESPN. Great catching up with you, Tim. We really appreciate you doing this.
Okay, fellas. See you.
Tim Kirkjian joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, listen, I'm not a Yankee historian by any stretch, but Babe Ruth is a different beast, man, in terms of his numbers and the aura that he came with. But,
and Hayes, how much does – I mean, it's relevant here. We talk about it all the time. How much does the postseason matter for that?
I think it has to with a place like that.
He's like a 200 hitter in the postseason.
You're right. He's not a playoff performer. He's not. And, they were in the World Series last year, and maybe if his bat is lively, I don't know. I felt like the Dodgers, the way Freddie Freeman was playing. But look what Freeman did in the World Series last year.
Yeah, what did he have, 5 home runs or 4?
Yeah, it was every night. It was just game after game after game. And if Judge did that, then that explodes, the whole story and the opportunity for him to creep into a different level. And again, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to talk to Yankee fans and Yankee historians in terms of the numbers and all that. I don't have that kind of stuff, clearly, nor do I care enough about the Yankees. But, Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, he said Yogi Berra, Jeter. Jeter was a different player, but I can't imagine Judge can even start the conversation in New York until he wins a World Series, like a minimum one World Series.
Well, if he was a part of 80% of the other teams are part of. He'd be, they'd be building statues about this guy.
Right.
But you go to Yankees, where arguably the greatest players, or some of the greatest players ever, played together or there. And it's a challenge because you're always going to be fighting those ghosts, and you're always going to be compared to him. But obviously, Aaron isn't intimidated by that. But I think that longevity does. When you're talking about the greatest of the great, and we touched on a little bit earlier with the golfers, it's longevity. Longevity matters, and winning matters because we're talking about the best. That's why all these guys, the top players in every sport, want championships. Whether it's golf, basketball, hockey, foot, you got to have that championship ring, or trophy, or whatever you want to call it, guys.
Yep.
And so there's still some work to do, but I mean, the fastest ever was it 320 home runs or whatever it was, 350.
350.
That's insane. I didn't know he was on pace for that. I saw that, I was like, wow. But he's older, right?
But I think it would be different.
He showed up at 25.
I think it would be different for that though if he had done all this stuff in the regular season, and he also was like, let's say they didn't win in the playoffs, but he was good. Like, look at McDavid.
Fair.
Like, McDavid's been unbelievable in the playoffs. So you can't say anything. He hasn't won yet, but he's done his part. Like,
Yes.
Judge, you can't look at him and be
fair.
like, he's been great. It's like actually no.
Right. And, ultimately the guys that precede the Judges and the McDavids, like, their careers are done, and you have that barometer. Like, you don't have to match it directly cup for cup or whatever, World Series for World Series. Like, Gretzky doesn't have the most Stanley Cups ever.
No.
Like, he doesn't have that.
But four's pretty good.
Four.
No,
right?
I know.
Like,
I'm
it's
not
not like
downplaying it. I'm just saying, like,
he doesn't have a silver medal in the Spangler Cup, but I mean,
it's not the exact same.
Four's pretty respectable.
Very respectable. You know what's interesting with Gretzky, though? That, like, you look at, and again, I think it speaks to the times, but with the modern sports media and what we debate, what we talk about, the fact that he never won when he left Edmonton is interesting, how that doesn't hang over him.
wow.
Like, I know he made it to the Cup final in '93, but you know what I'm saying? Like, sports
Different
now,
culture,
it's like,
right?
if you leave, like, you better win somewhere else. If you're going to go, that was what was amazing about Brady. He goes to Tampa and he won. It's like, wow, checkmate. Like, this guy really, truly can do it everywhere. And, with Gretzky, like, he won the 4 with the Oilers. And what's kind of crazy is they won when he left. Like,
That
he was
crazy.
Gone, and they won in '90, which is amazing.
Best year of my life. Because we thought we were done, right? As fans, Oilers fans, it's over. But I'll say this. I think that his point totals were so insane.
Yeah.
And he had the 4 Stanley Cups that it's different.
Right. It had been established who he was.
Yeah.
Didn't he win like a million
it's
MVPs in a row, like 9 or something?
Well, he won everything. He had so many records that were his. Like, I think it's different that for a guy at that level, where you're one of the 2 greatest players of all time. At least the players that I saw play, I believe he's one of the 2 best.
Yeah. Who's the other one?
Lemieux?
I got Mario.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Connor's right there, but and it sounds biased, I get it, but I think most
fair.
people in with the players I saw, so I'm talking the last 45 years, those 3 guys are at the top, and I have Gretzky, Mario, Connor.
Where's
That's
Crosby?
what I have.
4?
Well, and I love Sid too. So Sid is up there as well. Again, so I want to make it clear. I'm not going back to the 80s earlier because I didn't see them play.
Right.
Because Bobby Orr's there.
Like Orr and Howe and them, or Richard.
But I have a hard time talking about players I didn't see because I didn't see them play. Yep. So I can't say I look at the stats and my grandpa cracks out his old his reel watching the reels. So, but I think those 4, and I'd probably put Sid 4. But I love Sidney Crosby. But that's how much I think these other 3 are incredible. And I don't even have a D-man in there, which is probably unfair as well.
Yeah, well, that is
Hasek?
a good question. Like, who would? Yeah, and
Lidstrom?
Hasek, like Noodles would say Hasek deserves clearly to be in here. Like Noodles,
intimidating guy, right?
Yeah,
he intimidates shooters, and then we don't make D-men. So who's the best D-man of that?
Is it
from
Lidstrom?
80?
Is it
Well,
Lidstrom's got the
Niedermeyer,
most.
Chara?
Bork, Coffee.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. I mean, the question is, will McCarr be in that chat?
Yeah,
when all is said and done.
But it's hard. It's hard, and then you're a little bit biased by what they do in the playoffs because you see them extend out their time, right, and where they played, and winning those championships. So, yeah, Pronger. I mean, Pronger, right? He's
Pronger,
got to be
Niedermeyer would be in that chat for sure.
I mean, I think it's Lidstrom. I think I would probably say him, and I would do all due respect to all those players, and I think a lot of them would probably look at Nick as well.
Well, and in terms of hardware, Yeah, I mean, he won 6 or 7 Norris trophies, which is pretty incredible. But, yeah, Lidstrom, I think, Pronger, Bork, Coffey, like those are the guys that kind of stick out to me. And then, yeah, Makar, Chara, Keith,
Do you know what
Doughty
I think
at his height.
has like this conversation reminds me of how hard it is to win now? Like you think of Crosby wins 3. Look how hard it is just like to win 1, like for the best player in the world. Like, how do you win 3?
Yeah.
And he went to another final.
Yeah, he lost his first one.
Right?
Yeah. He lost the first year he went. The first cup he got to, Crosby did, and they won the second year.
Like, Hayes, if you had to guess right now, how many cups do you think McDavid ends up winning? Is it 1.5 or under?
I think he'll get 1. I think he will get 1.
Right.
But
One's hard.
It's difficult to predict many more than that because, he's not a young guy anymore, which is incredible. He's still in his 20s. Like, he's still in his
29,
prime.
28.
He's been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to have, a 20-year career where, he's probably got 5, 7 more, like, great years.
Sure.
Great years. And that doesn't mean he can't win when he's 34, 35, 37. He still could. Maybe he racks up 2 or 3 late in his career, and they still will matter, and they'll count. But I think that's another element to it as well, is like, if you're the greatest of all time or in that chat, you got to win one when you're the man.
Mm-hmm.
You can't Ray Bork it when you're 40 and be like, well, he got one. That's not going to count the same way. Like,
Not
McDavid's
if it's the
got,
first,
I think
right?
he's
Not
got
if it's the first
3 to 5 year window where he's got to win. Like, got to win. More pressure on him to win than, I've said it before and I'll say it again, like any other athlete in North American sports. I don't think it's close. Like, Judge would probably be second because of the team he plays for. Like, if you're a Yankee and an all-time, you have to win for the Yankees. You have to. I think Luka's going to have that now. If you're a Laker, you got to win. If you're the man with the Lakers, you have to win. There's no question. So he's got a lot of pressure on him. But I think it's McDavid. I can't think of anyone even close.
Josh Allen? But, like, he's not.
But Allen's not McDavid. Like, that's the thing. Like, Allen's a great player. Future Hall of Famer MVP. He's not McDavid.
No.
Like, McDavid has been the best player in the game for years. We knew his name when he was 12, 13. We're like, this kid's coming. Watch it. And he's lived up to all of it. He's that great. So, yeah, he's got to get one. He's got to get one in his prime, too. I think he'd be the first all-time great player not to do that. Right?
Like you're talking like Mount Rushmore kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking the 7, 8, 10 best players in any sport, who was on that list that didn't win in their prime? No. Come back. We'll think on it. We'll come back. If you can come up with – there's a Jonas list. Think on it a little bit. Yeah. We'll get into it.
But it's harder – like part of this is it's harder now to win than it was before.
Why is that? Because
we
more teams?
I just think like the league is more sophisticated. There's more teams.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's 2 more teams. Sid won, 3 when there were 30 teams.
Yeah.
And, I hear you.
Go back to the 80s. How many teams were in there? Was it 16?
21 when Edmonton was winning. And
yeah, so you got 21. So, and so no disrespect to those guys.
No,
it is players.
tougher now. I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
But, again, you look at Sid. Sid didn't play in the 50s.
No.
Like, Sid's got 3 when there were 30 teams. So.
Yeah, Sid, I have to redo my list. Maybe he is in the top 3. I can't believe that.
I have him ahead of McDavid. Like, I do. Until McDavid.
Okay. All right.
And plus, because he's further ahead. Also, the international stuff, which is not McDavid's fault. He got jobbed. Yeah, Sid's got it.
Fair point.
Like, Sid's got a gold medal winning goal in Vancouver. Like,
yeah.
Look what he just did at the Four Nations. He was better than McDavid at the Four Nations.
He's like been so good for so long.
Yeah, he's still amazing. It's incredible.
He is.
All right. We've got Keegan Matheson coming up from the Park. Jays Yankees tonight. More on the Open Championship and the legacy of Scheffler. Our best bet still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
So on Twitter at HayesTSN, you can send me DMs on Instagram. I try to keep up as much as I can at BHayesOnAir on Instagram. Andrew just sending me a DM with a couple of great answers in terms of all-time greats in their prime that didn't win. At the top of his list, Barry Bonds. Like, Bonds never won.
He did make the World Series, I think, in 04,
Yes,
02,
he
something
did.
like that.
I want to say they got swept.
Yeah, by
or
the
they
Angels,
lost
I think.
quickly. But still, that's the guy. I mean, I get the PEDs and all that kind of stuff puts an asterisk beside him. But, yeah, Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, Hasek. Hasek won with Detroit at some point, but not in his prime. Not the Buffalo prime. I thought he got one when he was in Detroit. Look that up. Look that up, Doogie, and see what's
so
up
let me
with
ask you
Hasek.
guys this. So The Athletic did, we did like the top 99 players of all time in the NHL last year. So this was a top 10. I don't agree with this top 10. I don't know who did the ranking, but I did not do it. So 1, Gretzky, 2, Mario, 3, Orr, 4, Crosby, 5, Yager, 6, Ovechkin, 7, Hasek, 8, Lidstrom, 9, Esposito, and 10, Bork. So how many of those guys didn't win?
Wow.
None of them, I guess.
Well, Bork didn't in his prime.
No.
But Yager did in the early 90s. Yager at 5?
That's high. That's aggressive.
Jaromir Jagr's not the 5th greatest player ever.
Like, is he a better player than Ovechkin? Like,
no. I don't think he was. But right, he played against both of them. I mean, you'd have a better answer than us, but I don't think so.
I played with Yags, and he was incredible. And I think if you look at some of the time he missed, so he went away to Russia for, was it 3 years before he came back again? So, you start putting in, let's say, 30 goals conservatively over those, it's almost 100 goals he has, and that puts him further up the list.
Yeah. I think his peak was higher than Ovechkin, too.
Although, was Messier on that top 10?
No.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So Yager's not better than Mark Messier.
As a player, really?
Point totals say he is, right? Isn't he top?
Yeah, point totals. He's second all time, I believe.
Yeah, like
Messier. Who are you taking in their prime in a big game? Are you taking Messier or Yager?
I mean, Yager did win 2 cups, didn't he?
Messier had 6.
Okay.
And Yager was Lemieux's guy. Now Messier was Gretzky's, but he wasn't in 90 or 94. That was Messier's teams.
We had Messier number 17.
17.
So can you go 11 to 16? I just want to
run through this whole
list. Sorry, Jonas. You're really
it's fine.
Making it work hard.
The Athletic. What are you doing?
Messier at 17. McDavid at 16. Too low. Yzerman at 15. Sorry, I'm scrolling up. Guy Lafleur at 14. Joe Sakic at 13. Bossy at 12. And then Patrick Waugh at 11.
Yeah, I mean, these are all-time great players, but like I always personally thought of Messier as ahead of Yzerman and Sakic. Like he was like that next level up personally. But
I would agree with you. I agree with that. And I really love this is hard. It's
they're
like
great
trying
players.
To pick your
They're
favorite
all-time
kid,
great players.
Right? Yeah, you're all trying and so you have emotional. So I think I had this debate with a guy before, is that the problem is that we all get, when you're talking about the best of the best, you have emotional moments where you remember this player did this or this player did that in a singular moment. And I think that's what, that's how it becomes hard, because like, well, remember when this guy did this or this guy did that. So I want to say I'd have Messier above both of Sakic and Yzerman.
That's in the window, though. Those are kind of
it's open to debate. I'll grant you that. Open to debate.
But McDavid should be in the top 10, and is, I think.
But would Patrick Waugh be behind Hasek? Like,
yeah. According to, again, Noodles is pretty adamant that like Hasek is the greatest goalie ever.
And remember Hasek at the Olympics that one year? Like, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's got 2 cups, Hasek. He got 2 cups.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify, is this all time or like post expansion?
I think this is all.
Like I didn't hear Maurice Richard, I didn't hear Jean Beliveau.
Yeah, like Larry Robinson.
Which again, before our time,
post
but
1967.
Yeah, so post expansion. Okay. So those guys would not be included. Okay.
But when you hear the older guys talk about Larry Robinson, like that when I came into the NHL, he, Larry, I think, had just kind of finished with LA, and the way that the vets talked about Larry Robertson, they were like they were the favorite player, how good he was and how smart he was and tough.
How tough he was, man.
And it's like when you hear the older guys talk about a player like that, it's pretty incredible. So, but I never got to see him play really. I never really got to see him play live, right? So that's where the debate comes hard.
It is difficult to do, and I think again it goes both ways because we're in the McDavid storm right now. Everything's the greatest ever. We've never seen anything like it, and it's like, okay, well, maybe relax a little bit, So that's the thing. Like it's difficult to do when you're right in the middle of the storm. It's the greatest thing ever. Most of all, we've never seen anything like it. Well, 20 years ago we were saying that about someone else, and 40 years ago we were saying it about somebody else.
You think so though?
Well, I could tell you they said it about Bobby. Everything they said about McDavid was said about Bobby.
I know, but that's a long time ago.
Right, but then Gretzky came along. Had we ever seen anything like Gretzky? Like clearly the smartest player ever.
Yeah.
Like just pure IQ and the way he saw the game. No one did it like him. No one played the game.
But
like
I think
him.
there's like a handful
chess.
of guys like that, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess.
Like
you're
Crosby,
right.
like as amazing as he was, we weren't saying like we've never seen anything like this.
Probably not. But Lemieux was a part. Honestly, Lindros was that when he first was coming out.
Oh,
yeah.
Like Eric was a guy, a 6'4", 240 killer with hands of like gold, man. Like, and the injury and the concussion and everything obviously spiraled it into a different world. But you're right. I mean, it doesn't happen often, for sure. I'm just saying it has happened.
Yeah.
Like there are every generation or so, there's a new guy where it's like we've never seen anything like it. And it's true in terms of like the actual definition of the player and how he plays. But there's always, previous guys who were great too and were granted that kind of same spotlight.
It happens at the
arrived.
draft every year, to your point. It's like this guy is like something different. And it's like, maybe not.
So who was the top-rated? It was Bobby Orr, and then Ray Bourque was the second highest defenseman?
No, the highest-rated defenseman was Lidstrom. No, sorry,
Orr.
Bobby Orr. Or
then
Lidstrom, Bourque.
And then Bourque. Those three in the top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who I think is going to be underrated and probably already is Malkin.
Yes.
And you remember that top 100 that the NHL did, and he
Right.
somehow did not make it, which is insane.
Yeah.
People are losing it.
No, you're right. I saw someone. There was like an NHL something online comparing him to another player, and I can't remember who it was.
Well, I think him and Draisaitl kind of have similar arcs.
Very similar. Very similar. Like clearly they're number twos, like in the shadow of Crosby and McDavid.
Yeah.
But like Malkin won the Conn Smythe when they won the Cup in 2009. It wasn't Sid. It was Malkin.
Mm-hmm.
He won the Hart. Like when Sid got hurt, he won a Hart.
He was the best player in the league.
Just like Draisaitl did, right? When McDavid a couple of years ago got hurt, he won the Hart. The comparison was wild. Like it wasn't like Bo Horvat or something, but it was something like it's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, do you realize how good this guy was? Like he was a machine.
Strong on the puck.
Yeah.
So strong on the puck.
And had a little bit of an edge too, Strud. Like would lose his mind a little bit, which I appreciated.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
They were so, and when there was two, and then he had Stahl in the 3 spot.
Unreal.
Oh, you know what? Where's the fourth line? I'll play against them.
Yeah, give me the fourth line, and that's like Max Talbot running around. And, they had obviously really good, but very like who were the other all-time greats that didn't win in their prime? Like people writing in Dan Marino. Marino's not an all-time. Like he's a great quarterback. He might be top 10 quarterback. Might be, but I don't think he's a top 10 player ever if you're going to include every other position. Jerry Rice and Lawrence Taylor and Reggie Whites and all those guys. All right, we've got Keegan Matheson coming up from the Dome. Jays Yankees tonight in about 20 minutes. More on the Open Championship and the legacy of Scheffler and what he continues to do and how long he can continue to do it. And we've unveiled our bracket 1 through 16 TSN Radio of the most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. We're going to run through that portion of the bracket. Maybe Jonas Struddy, you could throw it at me. I'll answer. Jonas, you could probably debate me, I would guess. Not on everyone, but some of them. I'm sure you'll push back on. We'll do that coming up as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Keegan Matheson, in about 15 minutes, we'll unveil our bracket for the most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. Get to that a little bit later on. And we were talking about it last week, like the CHL and certain players leaving for the NCAA. I guess it's being reported now that Porter Martone is on his way to Michigan State. So he'll be leaving the OHL. It was just a top 10 pick. I don't know how much money he's making, but I'm sure he's making a fair amount. And it's going to be a challenge. Like the CHL, they're ready for it. The OHL will be ready for it, but there's more and more guys that are going to leave, man. Unfortunately, star players are going to go down and chase the money if it's available.
So we spoke about it and we talked about the money and the lifestyle, but I think there's also the development piece. So playing in major junior, you get CHL, you get a lot of games, but some of these guys might want to get physically stronger, thinking they have a chance to make the NHL draft year +1 or whatever you call it. So I think that's the piece, because I know when I look around at kids that are around, the ones coming out of college are usually a bit physically stronger because they have so much time to work out rather than playing a game every second or third day, as you see in the CHL. Not that one's better than the other, but if you feel you're not strong enough, maybe that's the place for you.
It's an interesting thought because I think they play 38 games, I think, in college, something like that, mid to high 30s. Where if you're in the CHL and you're going to the playoffs, you're going to play 70 plus, when all is said and done. And it is different. Like now, the schooling is a part of it, and you obviously have to have grades. You got to graduate. Like there's an element of that as well that doesn't get brought up. The elephant in the room. Some players just aren't going to be smart enough to go to college. They're just not going to have the grades. They're not going to be able to get what is necessary to go to these major schools. But because that's part of it. Like if you're going to go down, you have to enroll and go to school. I know there's loopholes and all that kind of stuff. I get it, but still, that's a part of it. And you're moving to a different country, and I wonder how much of that is a part of it too. Strut is like you get to transition into living in the U.S. If you got drafted to the States, you're like, all right, let's get a jump on this. And
it might. I mean, that transition would be as hard as a player coming from Finland, northern Finland, coming to North America, right?
Yep.
So I think that's something to think about. But everyone's got their own agenda or their own plan. And I think that's what family advisors and families have to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. And the almighty dollar is a part of it too. I mean, let's be clear. If you're getting offered $700,000 American to go play a year somewhere, then go to the NHL, it's a pretty good deal. All right, final hour coming up. More on the Jays Yankees tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
is on. The Amazing Race Canada, all new, Tuesday at 9 on CTV.
FanDuel bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. More on the Open Championship and the legacy of Scottie Scheffler later this hour. Our best bets coming up. Keegan Matheson from the Dome. Jays Yankees tonight. What a week it's going to be after sweeping the Giants. You got 3 against the Yankees at home. Then you go to the Tigers. You got 4 against Detroit in Detroit starting Thursday. So, we were discussing watching 12 hours of golf, and how much of a commitment that is. Baseball is not far off, like every night they're playing. But we've discussed this before. Like, there's nothing worse than being a fan of a team that stinks because the season is so long and you just never get a break. Every night you're like, oh, they're playing again. They're probably going to lose. But conversely, not much better in sports if you get a really good team that you're a fan of and they're winning because they literally play every night. It's so exciting. You can't wait to see them play.
Turn the TV on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly.
No, go ahead. You're just trying to turn, like, every time you know this on, you want to turn the TV on. Like tonight, I'm going to find a way to get that game on to watch the Yankees play at the Jays.
I was going to pull us off topic, but this reminds me of the 84 games with the new CBA. Mm-hmm. Does that, you guys hate it? Do you?
I don't know. 2 games is such a minor amount. I think it's unnecessary. I've never been in the position where I'm like, man, I could really use, another game tonight at any point in the season, generally speaking. With a sport like that, so physical, I generally go the other way. But
less exhibition, though. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
For everyone else? Like, I think that's bad for the player trying to make the team. I think it's hard. Like, I can tell you, I thought 1 exhibition game and I was good to go. Like, we practice so much or so right now. Am I at top speed? No, but everyone will be in the same boat. You don't need 8 exhibition games to get yourself up and running. But I feel for the guy who kind of has an outside puncher's chance to make the team, because now you're, with 4 games, the big guys are playing, 2 games each, half a team. You don't have many games to try to prove yourself.
Well, from that standpoint, it is valid that even the exhibition games will be better because you're going to get better rosters.
Yeah, quality.
Like sometimes when using the Leafs as an example, they'd play the 8 games and like the
remember the teams that would go to Detroit, Hayes?
Oh, it'd be horrible.
Oh man,
like it'd be an East Coast Hockey League team basically.
Who's playing?
They had to have a certain amount of pros. It would always be the 3rd pairing defenseman and the 4th liners, and now you're generally going to get, not the A team. You're not going to get everyone playing every game, but you're going to get 75% of the A team.
Well, that 4th game, I bet you get your lineup.
Yeah, more or less.
Really,
you probably want everyone there. And your starter, your number 1 goalie to play probably the whole game. Right?
Yeah, half team, 3/4 team, final team, see you later.
Yeah, for sure.
I like it.
Yeah, so from that standpoint, it will be, a benefit. There you go. We stumbled across something we agree with. Go for it. 84 games, shorter preseason. We like it. Jays Yankees tonight. And Gausman on the mound tonight, Scherzer tomorrow, and Bassett on Wednesday. They're going to see Max Fried, I believe, tomorrow night, and Skubal later in the week. So you're going to get Fried and Skubal over the course of 3 or 4 nights this week. But the bats have been red hot. I think you got to be pretty positive that the Jays are going to find a way to produce runs. And coming out of the break, it was a significant statement. We talked a lot about it last week, including with our main man, Keegan Matheson, where he pointed out you got to start strong, and that's exactly what they did the last 3 nights. Let's head down to the Dome. Here he is from MLB.com, part-time co-host of this very program. Here's Keegan Matheson. How you doing, Keegan?
Fellas, I'm back in the coal mines here at my real job. It's not nearly as glamorous.
Right, exactly.
But, we're doing well. We got to do both. I'm suited up. I did a little SC earlier with Sarah, doing a little later. So, sweating in the suit, but everything's going well, guys. The more the Blue Jays win, the more I have to put on a tie. It's a bit of a dangerous game here.
Nothing wrong with that. You look good, you feel good, and the team's playing good, man. I mean, it's amazing what can happen because we were discussing this off the top of the show, Keegan. You look at even the lineup tonight, You get Ernie Clement leading off. You got Lou Perfido playing in right. You've got like a list of guys and a roster and a lineup card that if you picked them up and put them in the lineup last year, you'd say, well, that's a team that's going to win 76 games, which is what happened. And this year they're on pace for somewhere in the mid-90s. Like, how do we make sense of this where, again, it's not all these additions from the offseason that have launched them into a different category. It really is the internal improvement, which is somewhat incredible considering how much we goofed on that commentary this time last year.
Exactly. It's all the stuff that we typically make fun of when you hear every season. There's going to be internal improvement. They're going to put the roster together in better ways. They're going to find advantages. What is it? Winning in the aggregate. All of this stuff that is front office speak that you roll your eyes at, and that really tends to mean nothing most years when you hear it. It's working. And when it works, you have to call it what it is. It's working right now. And most of it comes from the players' side. They've done an incredible job of this and playing their roles, guys. And accepting a role in Major League Baseball does not come easily to everyone. When you are a platoon guy who's going to play 100 games, sometimes the guy thinks they should be playing 150. And that affects them. I think the Blue Jays and their players have done the right job of knowing their role, sticking with it, and succeeding in it. Beyond that, guys, the coaching staff deserves some credit in this. David Poppins and the hitting staff, of course, deserves a large share of that. I think John Schneider is going to get some buzz for AL Manager of the Year, and I think he deserves that. It's a situation right now where this team was supposed to be about 500. They're chasing an AL East title right now. That's what gets you in the conversation for AL Manager of the Year. He's going to be in that, and it's just all working. Guys, this is what it looks like when it all works. Not just one or two things, but the whole thing all at once, and it might get better with the deadline.
So, Keegan, you touched it. It's all working. And one thing that I really think is that everyone feels empowered that they can have an impact on a game. So where is that coming from? Is that, from a youngish vet like Vladdy, empowering these guys? Is it the staff, the manager? Like, where is this success of just these guys feeling like they can contribute or should contribute every night?
Yeah, that's such a great word, and I love that they're being empowered to do this, because I've been around teams, and I know you guys have been around these types of teams in different sports where when a young guy comes up, they're a little nervous. Am I allowed to sit here? Am I allowed to get in on this card game? Am I overstepping? Do I tick off a veteran if I do this the wrong way? I don't sense any of that, guys. There's still order. It's not chaos in there, and it's not a daycare, but it's a clubhouse that when the young guys walk in, or when a AAA guy who comes up for one day, there's a sense that they can contribute right away in a meaningful way, and a sense that they belong and are part of it. I've been around clubhouses where that's just not the case, and it doesn't feel good, where I can see that reliever who just came up looking nervous and awkward and left out. Honestly, guys, it's uncomfortable to be around, and I've been around it a lot, but this is the complete opposite, and that allows guys to hit the ground running. And like Joey Loperfido is a good example. He's been in AAA all year. Nothing spectacular down there, but he came up, boom, right into the game, and he's helping them win immediately. That does matter, and I think that comes from the players. It comes from veteran guys like Bassett and Gosman, Scherzer, George Springer was a big part of this. But guys like Vladdy, too. If you are a 21 or 24-year-old kid and you get called up to the Blue Jays, and the dude making $500 million comes over and welcomes you and makes it clear that this is where you're supposed to be, everything gets easier. And suddenly you are yourself again. Your shoulders are back. You're standing straight, and you feel like you belong. You get rid of that week-long, awkward period of, how do the flights work? How do the hotels work? How does my life work? You get rid of that, and you're a ball player. That's how it works.
One of the bigger, there's so many topics leading up to the trade deadline. We're 10 days away from that, and obviously that's kind of the overarching topic. And then you get the Yankees here, and they get a 3-game lead on them, considering where they were 2 weeks ago. But the daily chatter about who's going to bat leadoff, I think will consistently, take place. Do you, Ernie Clement's hitting leadoff again tonight. We've seen a variety of different players over the course of the year do it. Do you think they're ever going to settle on a guy, in that spot? Do you think that's something they might be trying to achieve between now and the trade deadline? What do you see happening in terms of the leadoff spot, the rest of the way?
I don't think they're going to, guys, settle on one person. You'll see Ernie Clements definitely against lefties, and he belongs there. It's a good fit. You'll see Nathan Lucas. They could go back to some Bo Bichette, but I like where Bo's hitting now. Guys, I don't think this team's had a real true leadoff hitter the past 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And at times that's been a problem. And it's been a problem, for example, when they were trying to wedge Bo Bichette into that spot. I like Bo being in spots where he has some runners on base and he can try to do some damage, because Bo as a singles hitter doesn't excite me all that much. Bo Bichette, when he's driving the ball, is one of the most dynamic and unique offensive shortstops in baseball, which is what he needs to get back to. And leadoff hitters can look a lot of different ways. Kyle Schwarber's a great leadoff hitter. He does not look like the small, slap-hitting, steal-a-base type of guy. But it is something, I think, that kind of under the radar the Blue Jays could look at this trade deadline or at the latest in the offseason. If there's a big splash to be made for a leadoff hitter that really changes the entire look of this lineup, that's got to be attractive. They're making it work with Ernie Clement, with Nathan Lucas, two guys who I didn't think would have a single game at leadoff, but that's kind of the theme of the season. But if they would be able to find a true, legitimate number one leadoff guy, that would change everything in this lineup. And I think that would slide guys even into more advantageous spots, especially platoon-wise, down the lineup.
Well, so Keegan, let's say a certain player in Cleveland, Stephen Kwan, is available and obviously would cost a lot because I think he has 2 more years. Do you think that's an investment they would be willing to make? Because obviously you're going to have to pay to get that type of player.
Isn't he such a Ross Atkins-style ball player, guys?
Yes.
And he's in Cleveland, which really helps.
Exactly. If Ross Atkins has a Stephen Kwan poster in his office already, I would not be surprised. He's kind of like a souped-up version of all these players the Blue Jays have rolling pretty well right now. Now, Kwan would not raise the offensive ceiling significantly right now. He's not having his best offensive year, but is still a menace to face as a pitcher. He's a really annoying hitter to face, which I mean in the most complimentary of ways. But the defense, of course, fits in with what this team is doing as that hand of bat as well. It fits in a lot of ways. Yes, it would be expensive, but anything cool you're going to do is expensive. And this has got to be an expensive deadline for the Blue Jays. Their farm system's had a good year, which essentially means they have more money in their pocket. They have some fun money to spend. And, man, if you win the AL East, not even if you win the World Series, guys, if you win the East, if you get to the ALCS, think of those 2015 and 16 teams, guys. They didn't win the World Series. They didn't make the World Series. But they're beloved, and they're still talked about because they went for it, man. Stephen Kwan is a player that casual fans in this city have heard of. Yeah, improving your bench, that's fun, great, whatever. But what made 15 and 16 so exciting is that people had heard of Troy Tulowitzki. They'd heard of David Price. These were stars. These are guys who had been to all-star games. When you raise the ceiling with someone that people have heard of, man, that's the ticket back to 15 and 16. That's the ticket back to this being the coolest spot in town, sold out every night.
Keegan, have you got an update for the guys that aren't playing? One's down, Manoah, and then Santander. What's the latest on these guys?
Well, Manoah's the simple one and the good one. He threw 2 innings there yesterday, 28 pitches, I think. He's probably going to make, 4, 5, 6 more starts. At this point, I think you look at him as a bonus. If he makes it back this year, it's a bonus, and you're very happy. This is more about next year with Manoah, but if an injury happens and Manoah comes back at the right time, A, that would work out. B, you know that the big man would lean into that narrative. He'd be all over it. That would be pretty cool. Santander, guys, is the mystery, and mysteries are not good. John Schneider said today it's still going to be a couple of weeks until he starts swinging again, but that it's still a week-to-week sort of deal. And it's not a ton of weeks left, guys. What are there, 8, 9 weeks left in the regular season? And it's been this way for 2 months already. At this point, it's starting to feel like we might not see him play again this year. We'll see on that. The Jays aren't ruling that out, and we don't have the info that we should yet, but when something like this drags on and on and on, and shoulders are complicated things, man, even when he starts to ramp up, it's going to be slow. And even when he was playing, it wasn't good. So that's been a mysterious one, and mysteries are not a good thing when you're talking about an injury. So that's file that under the bad news, I guess, for now.
With Keegan Matheson, MLB.com. So in terms of the vibes around the team today compared to when the Yankees arrived a couple of weeks ago for that 4-game series that the Jays eventually swept, how would you describe it? How would you describe where this team is at going into this series, where I can't imagine they sweep them again? That would be 7 straight wins against the Yankees in 2 weeks. That seems unlikely. But the idea of them winning 2 out of 3, and all of a sudden you leave this series and head to Detroit with a 4-game lead over the Yankees would be massively significant. And I can't imagine they'd have anything but uber confidence that at a minimum that can happen starting tonight.
Yeah, this is momentum, guys. Like there are not many feelings in pro sports like the one around a ball club chasing the postseason. And for the team and for fans, but for these players, there's no time to overthink. There's no time to overanalyze and take 3 days to pour over. You got a game, and then there's a game and a game and a game. This race is such a sense of momentum right now, and it can be addicting because right now the roles have changed. When the Yankees were here 3 weeks ago, the Jays were 2 down, and they were chasing the Yankees because they're always chasing the Yankees. The Jays have been the little brother since 2016, and they've been at that kid's table. Now they're the ones being hunted, and that's a different game. And if you're Max Scherzer or George Springer, you know what that looks like. But for a lot of young players, they don't know how it feels to be at the top of a division and be chased. And I think that might be a good thing. Whatever, play your own game. And right now against the Yankees, they can create some distance. But they're going to get everyone's best from now on. The Yankees are not going to be saving relievers for whatever their next series is. I don't care what it is. The Jays are the team that's being chased now for the Red Sox, for the Orioles, for the Rays. Everyone's looking up at Toronto, and I think the Jays need to embrace that. That's where they should be. You're a big market, big payroll. You're supposed to be on top at this point. You feel that sense of momentum every single day, man. It can snowball quickly.
Sure can, man. Things change quickly, but it's going to be a fun week for this team. Again, they got 3 at home against the Yankees starting tonight, then they head to Detroit for 4. Big week coming off a big weekend. Enjoy it down there, Keegan. We'll do it again later in the week.
You got it, fellas. Take care.
Keegan Matheson, MLB.com. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. When the Yankees are looking up at the Blue Jays late in July, that's always a good thing. And they just won 2 or 3 down in Atlanta. And you're going to get Rodon on the mound tonight. He's had a good year. You're going to get Max Fried, later in the series. So you're going to face the best of the best. But that's what you faced 2 weeks ago. The Yankees 4 best against the Jays 4 best, and we saw how that played out. So that series kicking off tonight down at the Dome. Michael Collins of ESPN later in the hour on Scottie Scheffler and his greatness and what we saw this weekend, what we've seen out of him the last few years, and what can be expected the next 3 or 4 out of Scottie. Also, we'll get to our best bets, and we'll reveal our 16 most valuable Toronto athletes the last 25 years, and we're going to cut 8 of them. 8 of them are getting cut, and we're going to continue to move on as we get closer to the end of the week. So we'll do that. And again, Michael Collins coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel a little bit later this afternoon on Jays Yankees tonight. And Michael Collins will join us on Scottie Scheffler. Very routine Open Championship. He's now got 3 of the 4 majors. He's won 4 in his career. A couple of players. He's won all these elevated events. He'll be the face of the Ryder Cup, which is the next. I mean, you get the FedEx Cup playoffs still coming, but the Ryder Cup in less than 2 months in New York. Bethpage, going to be amazing. So a lot to get into with Michael. But earlier today, we revealed, in honor of the quarter century, we're obviously in the year 2025, we're introducing the TSN 1050 Toronto Sports Quarter Century Bracket Challenge. Rest of the summer, we're going to have different categories, but we're going to launch it with the most valuable division. All right, Jonas, most valuable division. Strutty, you can contribute. I know you're secretly a big Toronto sports fan. I know it. Massive, as you should be. So, in terms of the battles, now this, I think, is going to be there's going to be a lot of like guarantees, in my opinion. I have in my mind who I think should win this, and we can get to that as the week goes on. But Jonas, I'll throw a couple at you, and you tell me where you stand. Okay. In terms of the 1 versus 16, it's a little bit unfair to the 16 seed because these are all great players. But Kawhi Leonard or John Tavares?
Obvious.
Kawhi. Yes. Yeah. It clearly has to be Kawhi Leonard. Clearly. All right, staying on this end of the bracket. Keep this up on the TV, guys. Now, this one's tough. Ricky Ray, Josh Donaldson. Ray won. Ray was a winner, obviously, as the quarterback of the Argos. Who would you take there, Ricky Ray or Josh Donaldson?
I don't have a ton of CFL knowledge, but I know that Josh Donaldson was MVP.
Yes, he was.
And was, like, just a sensation here.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, good defensively, good offensively. I would take
he had
Donaldson.
The moxie, man. He was kind of the face of that 15-16 team.
Yeah, I would take Donaldson.
As much as Bautista, was the first one here, that kind of felt like Donaldson's team in 15-16. So
and a great trade, like one of the best trades.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe in Toronto sports history.
One of the great ones, up there with the Gilmore trade and. There's been a lot of great trades. There's been a lot of awful, horrible trades too.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah,
Quarter century awful trade list. But I would lean Donaldson as well, with all due respect to Ricky. And Ricky was a winner and a quarterback. Donaldson, different beast. Now, how about Jose Bautista, Mitch Marner?
Ooh.
This one's going to be tough because, like, Bautista's got the bat flip, obviously, which is why I will say Bautista because of that playoff moment. Marner doesn't have one playoff moment, like not one big playoff moment.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
4 Nations Cup.
No.
Yeah, but that's not a Toronto thing. And you're right. I mean, I thought he was really good in that game.
Mitch being a 13 seed though seems.
That seems a little like if he was still a Leaf, you think he'd be higher? That's a Vegas Golden Knight play in your opinion. Well, we're talking 25 years, right? With a lot of great athletes, but Marner probably does deserve to be a higher rating than that, but I'm going to go Bautista.
Yeah,
I'm going Bautista simply because of 15 and 16.
The bat flip?
And the bat flip. Like that is, I think, the most famous game of the last 25 years. I'm trying to think, maybe the Raptors. Maybe
in
the
a
shot
positive
against
way? Yeah,
Philly.
aside from, that's better.
Yeah, I mean, the Raptors' run in 19 is obviously has to be separated a little bit because they actually completed the whole thing and won it in the end. But I think, Game 5, ALDS, 7th inning, like that's the most famous inning of the last 25 years.
Do you know what's funny though, Hayes? Like you mentioned Marner in the playoffs. I had forgot this, and it's like a long time ago. Do you remember? Was it the 2018 playoffs first round against Boston?
Boston. You're gonna say when he blocked the shot and people were like, "Hey, Mitch, great blocking of the shot."
I think he had scored 2 goals the game before.
Yeah, he was good, and Bruce Cassidy was pumping his tires back then.
But man, that's too long ago. So,
yes,
sorry.
And did they win that series?
They did not.
Did he show up in Game 7 of that series? I don't believe he did. Bautista, moving on. Roy Halladay, Michael Bradley. Halladay or Bradley. And you can vote on all this on Twitter, Instagram, follow at TSN1050. This one's tougher than it looks because Bradley, again, was the captain of the team that won. Like, they won MLS Cup. They went to multiple MLS Cup finals where Halladay was just never on a team to be that valuable.
But, man.
I know. He was the best pitcher.
The best pitcher.
You could argue the best player
in
the last
baseball.
25 years.
Yeah.
You could argue the best player the last 25 years, for sure.
For the Jays? Or just any?
Yeah. I mean, as great as Donaldson and Bautista and Delgado were, like Halladay, I think you could easily make that case.
Yeah.
That he was, like, the best player, period. Like,
he was just
talent and production.
You just knew what you were going to get every time. He was going to go 7 innings.
Yeah.
Going to give you a good start.
Definition of a horse.
Yeah.
Best starter in baseball for, like, a good 3 or 4 year stretch.
Yes.
Like, the man. Yeah, I don't know. But, again, it's just they were never in a position to win.
But what do you want him to do? It's like, he did everything he could do.
Yeah.
Remember those teams? Like, they were terrible.
They weren't very good.
Raul Mondesi and
They tried. They had a couple years where they pumped money in and they tried to bring in
when they had AJ Burnett
and
that
BJ
was
Ryan
fun.
and Troy Gloss. And they tried to make moves and it just didn't fly. All right, you're putting Halladay in?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Quickly, let's move to the next side of the bracket here, get to the other seeds that are available. Where am I at here? I don't know if we can get this up on the screen because I don't have it in front of me, guys. But all right, we'll wait a moment. But this is going to continue throughout the week here, where we've got obviously different categories and we've got different ways for you to vote. And again, you can go online at TSN 1050 radio on Twitter or at TSN 1050 on Instagram. So there's another half of the bracket that we don't have up evidently on TV, and now I'm trying to find it on my computer.
There it is.
I can't find it. There it is. All right, here we go. Austin Matthews or Pascal Siakam? Jonas, who would you take?
So Siakam obviously won and was an important part
Played
of the
a prominent
team.
role in that team.
Yeah, he was very important.
He was a starter.
But I'm sorry, Matthews.
You going Austin?
It has to be Matthews.
Struddy, would you agree with that? You're a Matthews super fan. I know it.
Yeah, I do. No, I would go with him. Just his time in Toronto has been
Yes,
elite.
9 years after what they were before he arrived. Now, Siakam to an extent as well, but he didn't represent the same thing. Like them winning the lottery, him going first overall, rookie of the year, haven't missed the playoffs since he's been here. It's Matthews. Matthews number one. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Vince Carter or Sebastian Giovinco? Giovinco was the best player on those teams with Bradley and Altidore, but Giovinco was like was the best player on that MLS Cup winning team. Out of spite, I'm taking Giovinco. I can't take Vince. Like, I'm
Why
not taking
spite?
Vince because of the way Vince went out. I've made it so clear I don't need to keep digging this up, but the way you can't be the most valuable when you quit on the team and demand it out. Like, no chance.
The only argument in his favor, well, maybe not the only.
There's
but
no argument. Didn't win a thing.
There's some argument.
Went to his graduation on Game 7.
He was maybe the most popular player in the
100%.
league for like a little bit there. He was definitely the most popular player here.
Well, yeah, and that's all that matters.
Like, he took basketball here to a different level.
Of course
like,
he
we
did.
might not have
Of course he
Shea
did.
without Vince.
I'm not buying that for a second. I hear
you
you.
know
but
he
that's
had a
stretch.
huge
Shea
impact here.
Gilgeous-Alexander has to
He
pay
changed-
homage to Vince Carter. Come on.
I think he would tell you that. I think it's like, come on, he was.
Shea was born in
sensation.
2000. Shea didn't even watch Vince Carter.
Okay.
He didn't.
Okay.
So he was like Vince got here in '99. Anyway, I hear you. I get he was important, but I think a lot of that's been overstated personally. But anyway, I'm not taking.
We
Vince.
wouldn't have Anthony Bennett without.
Exactly.
Vince.
There you go. You can have Anthony Bennett. The world can have Anthony Bennett thanks to Vince.
I'm with Jonas here. I go Vince Carter. I'm not sure how this is even a.
I don't know
Giovinco
anything
all day.
about
Giovinco won. He was international. I'm just not taking Vince. I'm sorry. Kyle Lowry or Carlos Delgado?
This is a hard one.
This isn't that hard for me. It's Lowry all
I'm with
day.
you too.
Lowry
I'm with
won.
you.
I don't think that that's true.
It has to
Underselling. Delgado was a better player in his sport than Lowry by a lot.
be not by a lot. He
By a
wasn't.
lot.
No,
Come
he
on.
wasn't.
Was
Not by
Lowry ever a
lot.
top 30 player in basketball?
Yes.
No.
Yes,
Come
top 30
on.
player in the league.
No.
Yes, he was. He was an All-Star multiple times.
In the East.
So
That's
how
like-
many guys go to the All-Star game? 30. He was there
No, it's
multiple
like, I think it's
times.
like 12 a conference.
Okay, so even less than that. There you go.
I don't think.
Delgado
I think
was a very
Delgado
good
was
player.
Awesome.
He's not an all-time great player, Delgado. Like, he's not an all-time great baseball.
He was
like,
one of the best players in the league for like a little stretch
how many
there.
MVPs did he win?
I think he was second one year, wasn't he?
I don't recall that. Listen, he's a great player. I'm not here to downplay the greatness of Delgado. I'm pumping the tires of Kyle. For me, I mean, for me, this is a landslide. Lowry, landslide. All right, last one before we get to Michael Collins. Sundin or DeRozan? Matt Sundin.
Matt Sundin.
Or DeRozan. Yeah, I think it's Matt's. I think it's got to be for sure. I mean, 0-2 conference final. Unfortunately for DeMar, like he was valuable because he had to go.
He was beloved too.
Yes,
loved
DeMar
being
was.
here.
Yeah. Well, he played. He said the right things, and I think they were genuine. But he realized this was a market that was just dying to be loved by a player, by an American player, and he played it like a fiddle, to his credit. And I don't dispute he loved it. I think he really did. But he made sure to prop that up. I love Toronto. Toronto's the best. I don't want to be anywhere else. Man, we couldn't wait to hear that. From an American star player, it was huge. But it's Sundin. All right, vote online. Let us know where you take it. We'll get this down to 8, and we'll continue to vote as we go forward this week. Let me know if Michael's on the line, guys, because Scottie Scheffler obviously is a guy, if we're talking, great athletes the last 25 years, he keeps moving up the list. Great golfers of the last 25 years. It's obviously Tiger at number 1. Where would Scheffler come in after Tiger? Like, is he creeping towards 2? Is he at 2? To chat about it, we're joined now by ESPN golf analyst. Here's Michael Collins. How you doing, Michael?
What up, boys? But hold up. I'm listening a little bit. I got to start with something because I got a Vince Carter Raptors jersey upstairs right now.
Okay.
Like, what was that conversation y'all was just having?
Well, we're talking about the most valuable athletes in Toronto the last 25 years. And Vince is the most complicated athlete probably in the history of the city.
Well,
one of them.
Until recently.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's a different story. That's a hockey-related thing. Like, Vince was so big, so popular. Just the way he went out, Michael, was it was tough, man. It was tough. He quit on the team, demanded out. It was not good. So it's complicated.
It's complicated. There might be some tax issue stuff.
Yeah, there could be some.
There might be some money. You know what I mean? That's one of those things people don't talk about a lot. That especially for American players. For American players, nowadays it's talked about more. Back in the day, like nobody really knew about it until you got up there. I didn't know about it until I was up there doing stand-up comedy in Toronto. Yeah, big time. And then I was like, hey, man, I mean, y'all messed up. You double taxed me. They're like, no, we got this 2 tax thing. I was like, with this 2, no, I ain't got no 2 tax. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we got it all up here, man. We got provincial, we got federal.
Back in the day when athletes didn't understand that, they would come up there and be like, hold up, what you mean I'm getting paid in loonies and toonies and you're taking 2 types of taxes out? Be like, yo, I'll go all in for y'all for a minute, but, man, then you hear about how much money one of your friends is making in a state like Florida or Texas where there's not even a state tax. Mm-hmm. And you might get a little rubbed the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a big conversation.
People can love you as much as they want to, but they're not going to love you enough to be paying your bills.
Yeah, believe me, it's a big conversation right now, and you know, it's not only up here. There's other states down there that California and New York that hit you pretty hard too. So it's not only up here.
It's a big conversation, like talking like how good is Scottie Scheffler going to be? Yo, how about that segue?
I like it. All right, so
am I not the greatest?
It's beautiful segue.
You've ever.
Let me ask you that then. After Tiger, I'm assuming, Michael, you'd have Tiger at number 1 on your list of the last 25 years. Where's Scottie? Is he moving towards the second best player of the last 25 years? Is he in the top 3, top 5? Where would he be for you?
I think he's now there. And the reason that I think he's now there is because he now has other golfers talking about him the way that Tiger's competitors spoke about him when he was in his heyday. And that's when you want to know when a guy is head and shoulders better than people, it's when their playing competitors are like, yeah, that dude's game, he beat my A game with his B game. And so when he shows up and doesn't make mistakes, or like everyone said last week, man, if you don't hit the fairways here, you got no chance. And then Scottie hit, 3 fairways on day 1? Yeah. And was just like, he might have been Rick James and just been like, y'all get a new couch.
Right. Didn't matter to him.
That's what I'm saying. And then the fact of what he said during his press conference, you know how many athletes are now on the phone with a sports psychologist trying to figure out why they can't get to that mentality? And I've been saying it for a long time. Like when him and Ted Scott got together and became caddy and player pair, I told people this is going to be very dangerous. And this is also where I give his dad, Scott. Scott Scheffler has been saying this for a long time. I was never trying to raise world number one golfer. I was trying to raise a good human being. Well, mission accomplished, Dad. You know how many parents right now that have their kids in some kind of travel sport and they've gone all in on one sport for their kid? You know how many parents don't want to hear something like that, right? Because they're like, I got to go all in for this kid for him to have the best chance. And then you're like, are you creating a good athlete or are you trying to create a good person? Because a lot of times it looks like you're going for the athlete. And so you look at Scottie Scheffler's dad, Scott, and his mom and their family, and that family dynamic is why he has a baseline that puts him in a place that a lot of other athletes, not just golfers, but athletes can't get to. And he's the greatest compartmentalizer of life since Tiger, except when it comes to, like, all of his stuff away, he's the most vanilla dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
That's the one thing I feel bad for the tour is because they're like, yo, we got our guy, man. This is going to be awesome. He's going to represent. He's like, nah, I'm not really, I don't want to do that. You know, hey, man, let's go do some of these off-course things. Nah, I'm good. I'm all right. Be like, you going to help us promote a little bit? Nah, I'm just going to win. I'm fine with that. I'm going to win and I'm going to hang out with my family.
So when you look at him, and obviously he's had an incredible run, and he's obviously found his game. Why is he going to be able to continue this dominance? Like we saw, maybe not quite with Tiger, but we've seen other players drop off. I'm thinking of Spieth and Rory. Why is he different?
Because, and he said this in the press conference that he had, and he's said it before, golf is not the end-all, be-all for him. You know what I mean? If you remember in that presser, he also said, I don't know why these tournaments mean so much to me, why I want to win them so badly. But they're not the end-all, be-all. And you know what the rest of the golfing world, the professional golfers, thought to themselves? Well, we wish you'd figure it out and then stop. But he ain't there, right? Like, he's a dude who loves getting up, going to work. And then when he gets to the place where he's going to compete, he loves the competing. And it doesn't matter whether it's for free at the Olympics or whether it's for $20 million at the Tour Championship. He just wants to win. And he even said, and after I win, it's awesome for 3 minutes. But then it's like, meh, all right, what are we doing for dinner tonight? And then what's next? I want to just go back to the grind, man. I'm going to do all my work and try to maintain and be good. Where other guys are fiddling and fixing, and I'm going to change this a little bit, change that. Scottie not doing that. So when you say, like, oh, you know, how about the run he was on? No, it's the run he is on. He is not doing anything that would make someone go, oof, yeah, he's working on tweaking his iron game just a little bit or wants to do something different with his driver or 3-wood and stuff. And when you see a guy who's not doing that, you need to be very afraid of the future because he's not changing what he's doing. And that means the results aren't changing anytime soon.
What do you think it means for golf, though, with what you're talking about with extracurricular stuff? Like, is it good? Is it bad?
It's a
double-edged
Is it neither?
Sword. Yeah.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. It's good for Scottie. And the reason it's good for Scottie is because golf is coming back to a good place where it's getting popular slowly but surely again. If you remember, like, there was a huge drop-off. When this big PGA Tour Live Fight all started happening, people were like, you know what? Forget that. I'm tired. Like millionaires fighting with billionaires. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need none of them. I'll go play golf, right, with my boys at a muni for $68 and hopefully get a free hot dog that ain't been there for 4 days. When you got a guy like when you got a guy like Scottie Scheffler, he's now dominating in a fact where people are like, I might need to check this dude out. Like, I ain't watched golf in a minute, so let me turn on golf and see if I can see what this dude is really all about. So he brings eyeballs back. Now, the flip side of that, the other side, the other side of that sword, as you were saying, is it good or bad? The bad news is the other dudes who aren't winning, like Scottie is, they were doing all that extracurricular stuff, like helping promote the tour. And if they stop doing that, then the tour is going to look around and going, hey, man, like, all these signature events that y'all bitched about and complained, and now we got these things with no cut, so you guys at the top can get your bags, too, of cash and do it. Well, you're not doing anything to promote nothing. And so by not promoting it, how are we bringing sponsors? Like, how are they getting value for their dollars? And if they're not, then guess what happens to your money? It goes down, too. Because now sponsors are like, maybe instead of $5 million, I give you $2 million. And sponsors are not like standing in line being like, I'll throw $5 million in here. Like, we don't live in that world anymore. And so professional golf has to be very careful. It's a very thin and dangerous line that they are walking right now, because it's like some guys, like Jordan Spieth even said, when Scottie Scheffler stopped doing all that off-course stuff, look at his success. And other guys were like, maybe I should do that too. And like, well, be careful. Like, if you're part of that crew that wanted to get all of this extra stuff because you didn't get the bag to leave the tour, then you still got to do that extra stuff to make the big sponsors happy so that they keep sending checks.
With Michael Collins, now we turn the page over to the Ryder Cup. Now that the majors are over, we got the FedEx race and all that. But the Ryder Cup in New York, Scheffler is the face of that. Like, how big of a moment is this for him? As kind of the face of American golf, but up in New York, where I would think it's, Bradley's going to be a forefront. There's going to be other guys.
What?
Bryson's going to be on the team.
Yes. Scottie, this is the thing, too. Scottie doesn't have to be the face of the Ryder Cup, right? This is Keegan's show. That's the thing. So Keegan is going to be the show. And then we heard yesterday that Bryson's on the team regardless, which is a really smart move, too, because he's so beloved, period, around golf and outside of golf as well. So for Scottie, first we'll say for Scottie. For Scottie, after what happened at the last Ryder Cup, seeing how emotional he was about it, I expect Scottie to perform even better than he did last time and probably have more input on, hey, listen, I'll play with whoever you need me to play with and we'll make it work, right? I think this is not a buddy's trip. Like, this is a business trip, too. As much fun and as crazy as it is for New York, this team does not want the European team. And this is going to get played a lot when we get close to the Ryder Cup. People forget. Go back and hit your YouTube and go see what Rory said after they won last time when he was in that winning presser. And he was, like, adamant about, we're going to New York and we're going to win there, too. Like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And you thought you had a little beef with LaCava before? Also a Connecticut guy close to New York? Bruh. Okay. This is what's so awesome about the Ryder Cup. It's the only event like it. There's nothing. There's nothing that compares to the energy and wildness of the Ryder Cup. And I think both teams are going to be extremely motivated. I think the only thing that I'm nervous about is a little bit of if the crowd goes a little overboard and is like, hey, we want to be inside the ropes and affecting outcomes. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, it's like, well, I've been there, done that. Like, I've seen this before. Sorry, not sorry. Let me see that ring real quick. But yeah, I just expect Scottie to have a better Ryder Cup than he did last time. But I believe Keegan is the face of this team, and I'm hopeful that as someone who is named captain right now, that when he's gonna play on the team, he has to play on the team. But in playing on the team, then he cannot be captain. So what the PGA of America needs to do is to promise Keegan that he will be a Ryder Cup captain in the future so that he can focus on playing and then someone else can step in and be the captain.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a month and a half, I guess, give or take, to figure that out. It's going to be a fun stretch run to get down to Long Island. Thank you for this, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Can I just tell y'all how much I miss Canada right now, being in Florida and just.
Come on up, man. We're waiting for you.
I know, man. I'm like Avenue on Bloor, Bathurst, and Field, like coming and hang. This is my top 3 cities in the whole world.
Love it.
And I miss it. I'm not going to lie, man. I miss it.
Well, get back up. And when you do, let us know. And we'll catch up. Appreciate you doing this.
I know you know some golf. You know some guys that got some golf hookups.
Yeah, we got them.
With my clubs. Why not?
We'll hook you up all day, man.
Yeah.
We'll hook you up.
Let's go.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
You got it. Michael Collins of ESPN. I like that, man. You don't see too many guys reference, like, streets. You know,
Sure.
people say, I love Toronto. It's good. But that's pretty good, man. Avenue and Bloor.
And Bathurst and Steeles.
Yeah, I know Steeles he threw in there, which doesn't really connect, but he's a Yorkville guy, clearly. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel coming up. Jays Yankees tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Plus money for the Jays tonight. I'm on it. I'm going to roll this wave. I'm going to ride this wave as long as I can. You're getting minor plus money, but I'll take it. And Alejandro Kirk to record a hit. Vladdy to record a run, paying plus 280 on FanDuel. FanDuel Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds. Must be 19 plus, only in Ontario. Please play responsibly. All right. We'll see what comes of it tonight. Jays Yankees. Jays Yankees tomorrow. Jays Yankees the next night. But it's going to be a fun week. Tigers later in the week. And we'll see what comes of it. NFL camps are starting to open up. We got the CFL in full swing. Still got a lot going on. And we'll continue with our 25 most valuable Toronto athletes tomorrow.
We're proud of you, Hayes, by the way.
What's that?
We're proud of you for jumping in the water.
Yes, thank you.
Just want to remind you.
Yeah. No, I do feel like a hero. I am a hero. You're right, Strut. I feel like I deserve that level of gratitude. Yeah. All right, boys. There I am. Look at me. Look how comfortable I am in there. Just
nice trap
around.
Development.
Yeah.
Nice traps.
I think so, man. My shoulder game, it's getting there. I'm working on it.
Surprised. It's noticeable.
Right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for up and out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and up on YouTube. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.